Chapter 440, Draw for Spiritual Pets. Colluding with the Demon Path. If the spirit stones were still insufficient, he could also draw spirit talismans and refine elixir medicines to quickly gather funds. The next morning, as the sky began to show the first light of dawn, Lu Changxing arrived outside the northern gate of Qingyun Market. At this time, there were already many cultivators waiting, including several Qingyun sects patrolling law enforcement cultivators. It seemed they were all waiting for the arrival of the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel. Han Sr., when the spiritual vessel arrives, please line up here and board the second floor of the vessel, a Qingyun sect disciple inquired about Lu Changsheng's situation. Seeing the green jade token in his hand, he briefed him on the general situation. Okay. Lu Changsheng nodded his head. After waiting for nearly an hour, a 3-level tall, 50 to 60 zhan long spiritual vessel, wrapped in luminous formation light, slowly descended from the high clouds. This spiritual vessel was not only inscribed with formation runes but also had several artillery turrets, which made one feel insignificant while also imparting an indescribable sense of oppression. How powerful could these turrets be? Are they comparable to a blow from a core formation? Lu Changxing wondered to himself as he looked at the spiritual vessel. He had heard that some large spirit boats would be inscribed with attack formations and equipped with large-scale magic artifacts. During major power conflicts and battles, they would use spiritual vessels to transport resources and manpower to the battlefield. Such spiritual vessels also belong to the category of strategic magic artifacts. Ordinary powers simply couldn't afford them, nor did they have channels to purchase them. Everyone present yourself with the token in hand, and line up in order to board the spiritual vessel. If you disrupt the order, boarding qualifications will be revoked. The spiritual vessel was hovering in mid-air as 2 Foundation establishment cultivators came out and spoke, their voices booming. As soon as their words settled, a rainbow light descended from the spiritual vessel, forming a series of steps. At this time, the Qingyun sect's law enforcement cultivators ordered people to line up and board the vessel in sequence. Having observed and understood the situation, Lu Changxing knew that the tickets for this massive spiritual vessel came in 3 tiers. The first tier was the purple jade token, for luxury upper-class rooms. The second tier was his type, the green jade token, for ordinary guest rooms. The third tier was the white jade token, where all passengers shared a hold without private space. There were only 3 persons holding purple jade tokens on this trip on the spiritual vessel. They appeared either rich or noble, likely descendants of nascent soul immortals or members of large aristocratic families. After these 3 boarded the spiritual vessel, Lu Changxing also started lining up to board. Recommended by Shiyu Jr. Sister. May I ask how to address you? After boarding the spiritual vessel, a Foundation establishment cultivator checked Lu Changsheng's jade token and asked. Lu's cultivator Han. Lu Changxing made a bow with hands folded in front. Alright, Daoist Han, room number 9, please enter. After a simple login by this Foundation establishment cultivator, he didn't inquire further. Alright, thank you. Lu Changxing nodded, making his way to the guest rooms on the second floor of the spiritual vessel. The room wasn't large, just a single room of about 10 square meters. For Lu Changxing, it was more than enough. He had purchased quite a lot of talisman-making materials in 9 Dragons Market and Qingyun Market. Over these 3 months, he could calmly draw talismans on board the spiritual vessel. Half an hour later, the spiritual vessel rose high into the sky and set off for Zhouxiao Immortal City. Lu Changxing brewed a pot of spiritual tea and quietly watched the sea of clouds outside the window. He had long since grown tired of such scenery. But his first time on a spiritual vessel was like the first time he had flown on a plane in his previous life, somewhat novel. He couldn't help but think to himself when he would be able to own a spiritual vessel like this. After all, such a spiritual vessel truly exuded dominance. Having finished a pot of spiritual tea and watched the clouds for a while, the novelty of riding the spiritual vessel had almost vanished. Lu Changxing exhaled softly, took out a talisman brush and paper, and began to draw spirit talismans with his mind tranquil. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Congratulations to the host, 10 offspring have completed the chi introduction into body and stepped onto the path of cultivation, earning a 5% increased probability for offspring to have a spiritual root and receiving 1 chance to draw a lottery. 10 now, Lu Changxing, who was making talismans, heard the system alert and a faint smile appeared on his face. His children were now starting cultivation in an orderly manner. In the next 3 years, another 10 children would step onto the path of cultivation. These children would be the foundation of his future family. The probability effect of having offspring with a spiritual root, if kept on increasing like this, wouldn't it guarantee that all my future children will possess a spiritual root? Lu Changxing, observing the 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring with a spiritual root, mused to himself. After several enhancements, the chance for his offspring to have a spiritual root had already risen to 15%. This probability was far from low. You see, when 2 cultivators have children, the chance that the child will have a spiritual root is only about 10 to 20%. But I would also need a sufficient number of wives and maids to maximize this passive effect. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. He was now ready to stream in more resources and focus on selectively breeding. There weren't many pregnant wives or maids left in his backyard. Apart from the 7 new concubines and maids, many had already given birth among his wives and maids. Thus, aside from Xia Zizhu, Lu Miaoge, and Xiao Xia, Lu Changxing didn't really want to keep having them bear children. However, once I establish my family and reveal my foundation establishment strength, these matters should resolve themselves. Lu Changxing contemplated privately. Merely by revealing his second-grade talisman master abilities, he already had many people willing to send their family juniors to be his concubines or maids. If he were to reveal his foundation establishment strength, then even more families and powers would likely be willing to send over their talented juniors. Indeed, in the cultivation world, as long as you have strength, many problems cease to be problems. Lu Changxing shook his head and sighed, then silently commanded in his mind. System, draw the lottery. A pale red wheel of fortune emerged, bathed in a golden light that began to spin rapidly. After a moment, the light slowed and rested on Pet. Ding! Congratulations, host, you've obtained a spiritual pet, cold blue dark turtle. The reward has been distributed to the system space. The host can check it at any time. An image of a dark blue turtle radiating a chilly aura appeared from the wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Cold blue dark turtle. A turtle species spiritual pet? Lu Changxing scrutinized his lottery prize, frowning slightly. His first impression of turtle species beasts was that they had long lifespans and slow growth. So seeing this cold blue dark turtle, he immediately felt the spiritual pet was of limited use, somewhat mediocre. Immediately, Lu Changxing's mental spirit flickered, turning his attention to the cold blue dark turtle in the system space. Beast, cold blue dark turtle, rank, heaven rank lower grade, description, a lower grade beast with the true spirit dark mysterious turtle bloodline. It can grow to its peak in 1,000 years, becoming a 4th rank demon beast, truly a case of raising a turtle for 3 generations, people pass away, but a turtle remains. Though 1,000 years to grow into a 4th rank demon beast is already very fast for a turtle species beast. But this rate of growth would exhaust even a nascent soul immortal. Lu Changxing, seeing the description of the cold blue dark turtle, couldn't help shaking his head. Although he was confident that he could outlast this turtle. With a 9 netherhound in his house that could grow into a 4th rank demon beast in 500 years, he was already dissatisfied with its slow growth. Now this cold blue dark turtle would take 1,000 years to reach the 4th rank, which made him not want to even comment. Forget it, that's the nature of a lottery, always ups and downs, might as well treat it as a common pet. Lu Changxing exhaled and didn't concern himself too much. Although the cold blue dark turtle's growth was slow, it also represented a future potential. After all, a beast's lifespan is several times that of a human being. And the lifespan of a turtle species beast is generally several times that of other beasts. If he took good care of this cold blue dark turtle, maybe it could accompany him for tens of thousands of years. Lu Changxing decided not to take the cold blue dark turtle out from the system space for the time being. He planned to leave it in the system space until he disembarked from the spiritual vessel and arrived at Joxiao Immortal City, then take a good look at the situation of this spiritual turtle. Blackwater Pool, Xiahou family. How dare you infiltrate the Xiahou family? A loud roar resounded, piercing the sky. The next moment, a sword light broke through the void, leaving a crack in the great formation above the Xiahou family estate. Then an escape light flew swiftly through the crack, soaring into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. She must not be allowed to escape. This woman might very well be an agent of the Qingyun sect, infiltrating our Xiahou family to investigate any potential collusion with the demon path. Now that our sect master is challenging Li Duanquan to a duel, and we're on the brink of war with Jiang country, we cannot afford any missteps. In the depths of the Xiahou estate, several voices exchanged words. Immediately, a figure rose into the sky, transforming into a black divine rainbow, chasing after the escape light that had just fled. This figure was emanating a terrifying spiritual pressure, characteristic of a false core immortal. Chapter 441, Battle of the False Core, Chu Qingyi. _1 In the guest room, Lu Changxing finished drawing 5 second-rank spirit talismans and brewed a pot of spiritual tea. He sat down to rest, closing his eyes to recuperate and restore his mana. Although the spiritual vessel was very stable with a false core immortal in charge, an accident could happen at any moment. Therefore, after drawing a few talismans, Lu Changxing would rest to recover, keeping himself in peak condition. Fellow Daoist passengers, I am Qiyun True Immortal. I have just received an urgent distress call from our sect, so we will be deviating from our course to assist. Please remain calm and do not panic, said a deep and elderly voice, resounding throughout the entire spiritual vessel. At that moment, a deep and elderly voice arose, resonating throughout the entire spiritual vessel. An urgent distress call? Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat. He opened his eyes and looked at the itinerary instrument inside the room. He noticed that the spiritual vessel, originally heading east, was turning around, deviating from the course to Joxiao Immortal City. What kind of distress call could it be, for a false core immortal to change course of such a large spiritual vessel to provide assistance? Lu Changsheng's heart was filled with doubt. He knew the identity jade of Qingyun sect disciples could be used to call for help. As long as the signal was sent, other Qingyun sect disciples within hundreds of miles would receive the distress signal. But now, a distress call had prompted a false core immortal to deviate such a huge spiritual vessel to provide assistance. This made him realize the situation must be serious. Lu Changxing looked out at the sea of clouds. The spiritual vessel was moving much faster than before, clearly speeding up to reach the location of the distress call. I can't be that unlucky, can I? To encounter a mishap on my first ride on a spiritual vessel? Lu Changxing couldn't help but think to himself. His reason for taking the spiritual vessel to Joxiao Immortal City was convenience and speed. If there were any trouble at the location of the distress call, and he got swept into it, he would be utterly troubled. At that moment, Lu Changxing heard footsteps in the corridor outside. It seemed that some passengers, upon hearing about the change of course, had stepped out of their rooms to inquire about the situation on the deck. After some thought, Lu Changxing put away his talisman brush, paper, and spiritual ink, leaving the guest room to see what was going on. There were several Foundation establishment cultivators on deck. They were asking each other about what was happening. None of them, however, had any idea what was going on. Soon, they all stood on the deck, looking down at the sea of clouds to see where the spiritual vessel was heading. About an hour into its rapid journey, a profound and heavy spiritual pressure suddenly emanated from the distances of the sky. A false core immortal. Lu Changxing and the others on the deck all turned to look in the direction of the vast sky. From this spiritual pressure, they immediately knew that it was the might of a false core immortal. They saw a chaotic burst of escape light break through the clouds, racing toward the direction of the spiritual vessel. A black divine rainbow was in hot pursuit, constantly bombarding the leading escape light. Boom! Within the black divine rainbow, an axe light slashed out, with countless runes flashing upon it, creating waves of black wind and wild blades that swept away the sea of clouds. As a result, the fleeing figure grunted, spat out blood, and nearly plummeted from the clouds. "How dare you, audacious villain, harm a true disciple of Qingyun's sect?" At the top of the vessel, a woman who appeared to be in her 50s, with an imposing and solemn face, dressed in a red magical robe, abruptly opened her eyes and shouted. Instantly, she transformed into a divine rainbow and shot out from the top of the spiritual vessel. Her body surged with false core mana, turning the sea of clouds a fiery red, like a burning sky, radiating waves of scorching heat. So, it was a true disciple of Qingyun's sect who called for help. No wonder Qiyun True Immortal decided to alter the course of the spiritual vessel for assistance, someone murmured. Which false core immortal dares to chase and kill a true disciple of Qingyun's sect? People whispered. It's no wonder, being a Qingyun sect's true disciple, that they've managed to withstand a false core immortal for so long. Of course. Every true disciple of Qingyun's sect possesses the strength of the Foundation establishment late stage, unmatched among their peers. As long as they don't die young, they could at least become a false core immortal in the future, came the chatter. The group on the deck couldn't help but discuss amongst themselves upon witnessing this scene. Lu Chengxing was also taken aback. Having spent so much time with Xiao Xia, he was familiar with the hierarchy of Qingyun's sect disciples, outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples, core disciples, and true disciples. True disciples were all at the power level of Foundation establishment late stage, the seeds of core formation for the Qingyun sect. As long as they didn't meet with an accident, they were destined to become the sect's authoritative elders, with boundless prospects. Yet here, a false core immortal was daring to chase and attempt to kill a true disciple of Qingyun's sect in Qingyun territory. If it's just one false core immortal, it looks like the problem isn't too big. Seeing that there was only one false core immortal in pursuit, Lu Chengxing breathed a sigh of relief. He knew he wouldn't be dragged into any major trouble. After all, the spiritual vessel didn't just have a Qingyun sect false core immortal in charge. It was also carrying 3 or 4 Qingyun sect Foundation establishment cultivators, along with over 20 Foundation establishment passengers. If the Qingyun sect needed help, he thought everyone would be willing to lend a hand. Boom, 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 the Qingyun sect's Qiyun True Immortal, holding a red banner. With a wave of the flag, immediately streams of heaven scalding, sea-boiling red flames spread, transforming into fire dragons that intercepted the black divine rainbow. Then with a large mana hand, she reached to send the true disciple soaring onto the spiritual vessel. Back off. The figure within the black divine rainbow was a black-robed man whose face was concealed. Enraged by the sight of the fire dragons, he wielded his black great axe and swung it forth mightily. Countless dark runes surfaced, accompanied by a terrifying aura that pierced through heaven and earth, eradicating the fire dragons and bursting with formidable power. Chapter 442, The Battle of False Cores, Chu Qingyi. Even with the talisman formation's spiritual light wrapping around the spiritual vessel, the terrifying presence of the strike still caused everyone on the deck to feel their blood churn and their hearts tremble with fear. So this is the power of a false core immortal, truly terrifying. Lu Chengxing, upon witnessing the battle between 2 false core immortals, felt a surge of awe, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled. It was his first time seeing a false core immortal make a move. He suddenly had a rough understanding of the level of strength at this tier. He knew that if he faced a false core immortal now, he would be no match at all. If I encounter a false core immortal, I must seize the initiative and form a talisman formation with over 100 second-rank spirit talismans to stand any chance of blasting them to death, he thought to himself as he watched the 2 false core immortals clashing in the distance. He knew that to slay a false core immortal, he had to rely on the talisman refinement formation. He had over 200 second-rank talismans on him. Once he made a move and formed the talisman formation, not even a false core immortal could withstand it. However, finding the opportunity to blast one to death within the formation would be no easy feat after all. Anyone capable of becoming a false core immortal was no fool and had many tricks up their sleeve. The moment they sensed danger or something amiss, they could quickly escape. I heard that the mana of a false core immortal is only 60 to 70% that of a nascent soul immortal. Therefore, if I encounter a nascent soul immortal, I must flee at the first opportunity. By assessing the strength of the false core immortals before him, Lu Changsheng had a rough estimate of the power of a nascent soul immortal. He knew he might stand a chance in a battle against a false core immortal. But against a nascent soul immortal, there was hardly any hope. The only option would be to find a way to escape. Boom, boom, boom. The ongoing battle between the two false core immortals was immensely powerful, causing the sea of clouds to churn tumultuously. And at that moment, the true inheritor of the Qingyun sect was sent onto the spiritual vessel by Qiyun, true immortal with great magical power, and caught by a Qingyun sect disciple. It's her, the Qingyun sect's Fairy Qin Yi. Fairy Qin Yi? Kaiyun, true immortal's disciple, Chu Qingyi. People on the deck recognized the identity of this true inheritor of the Qingyun sect. Kaiyun, true immortal's disciple, Chu Qingyi, Shiyu's senior sister. Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised to hear this. He knew that Xiao Xia's master was Kaiyun, true immortal of the Qingyun sect. But he wasn't clear about Xiao Xia's other fellow disciples. He didn't expect that this Qingyun sect true inheritor being pursued was actually Xiao Xia's senior sister. Lu Changsheng looked towards Fairy Qin Yi. She appeared to be in her mid-20s, her beauty refined and exquisite, possessing both the softness and the heroic air of a woman. Dressed in a tight white martial suit, her curvaceous figure was on full display. But at that moment, her aura was in disarray and weak. Her white clothes were tattered and covered in dreadful bloodstains, fresh blood oozing from her dark wounds. The exquisite beauty of her face was enveloped by strands of gray qi, causing her to keep her beautiful eyes tightly shut and show an expression of pain. Senior Sister Qin Yi. The Qingyun sect disciple beside her immediately took out some elixir medicines and fed them to Chu Qingyi. Zombies, this person is a demon cultivator. These 3 zombies all seem like second-rank peak copper corpses. At that moment, someone exclaimed aloud as they looked at the two false core immortals in combat. In the sea of clouds ahead, after clashing with Qiyun, true immortal for a while, the black-robed false core initiated an incantation, causing 3 coffins to fly out. 3 corpses emerged, their bodies pitch black and muscular, as if cast from bronze, emanating a dense energy. Roar, the 3 zombies let out beast-like roars, fearlessly charging at Qiyun, true immortal. Qiyun, true immortal's hands were waving a red banner that rippled in the wind, surrounded by flames, and he took out several talismans from his chest, turning them into golden thunderbolts that thundered towards the 3 zombies. Zombies, mostly of the yin and cold kind, fear the yang fire and thunder. Facing the intense flames and golden thunderbolts, the 3 zombies immediately howled, their dark bodies simultaneously beginning to bubble as if they had been plunged into boiling oil, and numerous white spots appeared. Seeing this, the black-robed false core quickly formed an incantation and summoned a black bowl. Different malevolent chi flew out of it and entered the 3 zombies. It allowed the 3 zombies to recover at a visible speed, causing both Qiyun, true immortal, and Lu Changsheng and others to twitch. What kind of zombies are these that possess such terrifying physiques and aren't afraid of yang fire or thunder? Qiyun, true immortal, felt uneasy, sensing something was wrong. Kill! The black-robed false core let out a cold snort, wielding the black great axe and repeatedly attacking Qiyun, true immortal, coordinating with the onslaught of the 3 zombies, forcing Qiyun, true immortal to fall back step by step, struggling to defend himself. Not good. Everyone on the deck witnessed this scene and showed worried expressions. If Qiyun, true immortal, were to be defeated, they themselves might also be in danger. Xianfeng, prepare the Qingyun cannon. At that moment, Qiyun, true immortal, also gave up his offensive, switched to defense, conjured a phoenix cover over himself, and shouted loudly. Yes! On the 3rd floor of the spiritual vessel, a Qingyun sect foundation establishment disciple immediately responded. After a short while, on the spiritual vessel, a powerful energy surged. Several cannon emplacements on the vessel glowed with spiritual light, transforming into ancient ferocious beasts, slowly opening their massive mouths, preparing for a terrifying assault. Standing on the deck, Lu Changsheng and the others felt the terrifying power being gathered by the cannons and couldn't help but feel their hearts racing. Such cannons, if fired at full strength, are probably on par with a full-force strike from a core formation. Lu Changsheng couldn't help but think to himself. He felt that such a spiritual vessel was incredibly formidable. Against a second-rank formation like the one in Red Leaf Valley Market, it was likely to be shattered with a single blast. At that moment, he became even more aware of the importance of a good formation. Chapter 443, The Battle of False Cores, Chu Qingyi. Damn it. The robed false core immortal saw the cannons brewing on the spiritual vessel's deck, a twitch appearing at the corner of his eye, and an ominous premonition rising in his heart. He knew that once these cannon turrets locked onto him, a single strike would reduce him to ashes. Fire Dragon Pillar, suppress. At that moment, Qi True Immortal summoned a column as tall as a man and as thick as a barrel, adorned with a lifelike carving of a fire dragon. The carving of the fire dragon burst forth, transforming into a chain of fire dragons that roared towards the robed false core immortal, seeking to bind him and allow the cannons to turn him to dust. This little girl has been poisoned by my heavenly corpse poison. Now that the poison has reached her heart, I reckon she won't last much longer. The robed false core immortal glanced at the offensive before him and then at the spiritual vessel, his expression unwilling as he cleaved with his great axe, recalled the 3 zombies, and turned into a divine rainbow to make a quick retreat. Phew! Qi True Immortal watched the enemy retreat, releasing a sigh of relief. If the 2 of them continued to fight, with the opponent wielding 3 Foundation Establishment peak zombies, she truly would not stand a chance. As for the attack from the spiritual vessel's cannons, such an attack, once launched, would implicate her if she were to restrain the enemy. Therefore, if it weren't for lack of alternatives, she wouldn't want to employ such a tactic that injures the enemy at the cost of severe damage to herself. She transformed into a divine rainbow and swiftly returned to the deck. Elder. We've seen Qi True Immortal. Lu Changsheng and the others immediately bowed in salute to the false core immortal. In the cultivation world, strength dictated seniority. Qi True Immortal nodded slightly and quickly checked on Chu Qingyi's condition. Qi Elder. At this time, Chu Qingyi also managed to open her eyes weakly and called out to Qi True Immortal. Qingyi, my niece, what happened? Who is this demon cultivator? Qi True Immortal demanded immediately. Xiahou family, Chu Qingyi, surrounded by a gray aura of death, began to speak in a feeble voice. Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. The blood splattered on the deck with a strong corrosive effect, and she fell unconscious once more. Xiahou family. Upon hearing this, Qi True Immortal's expression darkened. Seeing Chu Qingyi fall unconscious, she knew the situation was very dire. She immediately disappeared from the deck with Chu Qingyi. Xiahou family? Could it be the Blackwater Xiahou family? Hiss, I remember Blackwater Pool isn't far from here, within Xiahou family's domain. Could it be that the demon cultivator just now was ancestor Xiahou? How could that be possible? The Xiahou family is a major cultivation family with a history of hundreds of years in our Jiang country. How could they be related to the demonic sects? If the Xiahou family truly is part of the demonic sects, that would be astonishing news. The crowd on the deck was taken aback upon hearing the name, Xiahou family. Lu Changsheng was also somewhat surprised. He naturally knew of the Blackwater Xiahou family. A cultivation family with a seated false core immortal, considered a top-tier cultivation family within Jiang country cultivation realm and under Qingyun sect's jurisdiction. But now, the Xiahou family was suspected of being affiliated with the demonic sects. You see, Jiang country cultivation realm belongs to the righteous factions. As for the demonic path, if not eradicated completely, its existence is certainly not permitted in public view. Any demonic path cultivator or force that emerges in public would be dealt with by the major immortal sects. Now, a great cultivation family with a history of hundreds of years and a false core immortal at its core being associated with the demonic sects was indeed shocking. If that's the case, it would explain why they dared to pursue the true heirs of Qingyun sect. Yes, Blackwater Pool, where the Xiahou family resides, also falls under Qingyun sect's jurisdiction. If this turns out to be confirmed as a demonic sect, it won't be long before Qingyun sect dispatches nascent soul immortals and amasses an army to eradicate the Blackwater Xiahou family. Everyone was alarmed by this revelation and engaged in a heated discussion. Fellow Taoists, please keep today's news confidential and do not disseminate it. At this moment, the spiritual vessel turned around and headed at full speed toward Qingyun sect. A Qingyun sect disciple came to the deck and spoke to the crowd. Rest assured, fellow Taoist, the matters of today will certainly not be divulged by me, Su. Upon hearing this, someone immediately swore a heart demon oath as a vow of silence regarding the events. Seeing this, others followed suit, each swearing a heart demon oath, and Lu Chongqing did the same. After all, one had to give face to Qingyun sect. As the situation settled and the spiritual vessel resumed its voyage, Lu Chongqing returned from the deck to his cabin. Among us, is there a physician proficient in healing and detoxification? Not long after, a deep and aged voice reverberated throughout the spiritual vessel. It was the voice of Qiyun True Immortal. Hearing this, Lu Chongqing immediately guessed that Fairy Qing Yi required urgent medical treatment. From his brief observation earlier, he had noticed the dying aura enveloping Fairy Qing Yi, indicating not just severe injury, but also that she was afflicted with some poison. However, he hadn't expected the poison to be so severe that even Qiyun True Immortal, a false core immortal, was at a loss. She now sought a physician or a healer aboard the spiritual vessel. I wonder if there's a physician on this spiritual vessel. If not, I'm afraid by the time we rush back to Qingyun sect, Fairy Qing Yi will have succumbed to her fate. Lu Chongqing thought to himself. Although he had many methods at his disposal, he wasn't adept at healing or treatment and couldn't offer much help. Chapter 444. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. _1 Blackwater Pool, Xiahou family. A divine rainbow descended, revealing a middle-aged man clad in a black brocade robe. Ancestor. The Xiahou clansmen at the entrance bowed respectfully upon seeing their ancestor return. Xiahou Wuwa nodded indifferently and entered the family estate. Ancestor, we have just finished the investigation. This woman entered the back mountain of our clan through Xiahou Xian. At this moment, the Xiahou family head turned to address their ancestor. Xiahou Xian? For such a grave mistake, death cannot absolve him of his guilt. Cast him into the Blackwater Pool and refine him into a Yin corpse. Xiahou Wuwa paused mid-step, then spoke indifferently. Yes. The family head nodded in response. Xiahou Xian might be an elite member of the family, but for such a serious error, he naturally could not be forgiven. Moreover, the corpses of the Xiahou family's descendants were all refined into Yin corpses upon death, transforming into the foundation of the family. He looked towards Xiahou Wuwa, continuing to inquire, Ancestor, were you able to capture and kill that woman? That girl was rescued by someone from Qingyun sect, but she was afflicted with my heavenly Yin corpse poison, and the poison reached her heart immediately. She cannot live much longer. Xiahou Wuwa spoke in a serious tone as he took a seat in the family's grand hall. Rescued by Qingyun sect? Just as he finished speaking, a voice devoid of any warmth or emotional fluctuation sounded. And then, a bronze coffin burst forth from the depths of the Xiahou estate and landed in the middle of the grand hall. Within the coffin was a stiff-faced old man with no beard under his chin and ashen-gray skin with dark red eyes. Ancestor. Ancestor. Upon seeing the coffin's occupant, both Xiahou Wuwa and the family head respectfully bowed. Replying to the ancestor, I was just about to kill that girl when a Qingyun sect spiritual vessel arrived and rescued her. However, she has already been struck in the heart by corpse poison and surely cannot live long. Xiahou Wuwa explained. This girl's appearance in our Xiahou family suggests that Qingyun sect has long suspected our family of dealing with the demon path. Now that she has encountered trouble within our Blackwater Pool territory, our Xiahou family cannot be separated from this affair, whether she dies or not. Xiahou Jie spoke in a chilling and uncanny voice. After speaking, he turned to the family head and commanded, Wu Su, now discreetly send some of the direct descendants out of Jiang country and into Yu country and Jin kingdom. Yes, ancestor. The family head immediately answered. Ancestor, is this really necessary? The sect master and the 5 poisons cult leader will soon challenge Li Duanquan. As long as Li Duanquan is defeated, once the Jin kingdom's army invades Jiang country, with our internal support and their external assault, our Xiahou family can achieve great things. At that time, the sect master might even bestow the subsequent cultivation techniques and the method to create elixirs, helping you advance even further, ancestor. Xiahou Wuwa spoke up. The subsequent cultivation techniques, another step further. Xiahou Jie's ashen and uncanny face gave a cold sneer that was frightful to behold. His descendants were not aware of the inner workings of the Heavenly Corpse sect. He had come out from the Heavenly Corpse sect, not knowing what was happening within his own sect. He spoke with a cold and authoritative voice. Li Duanquan has dominated Jiang country for 500 years, and upon breaking through to nascent soul true lord, he slew a 4th-rank demon king. Now his strength is unfathomable. It would not be easy for the sect master of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the 5 poisons cult leader to repel this killer star. Even if the Heavenly Corpse sect master and the 5 poisons cult leader could drive Li Duanquan back, an invasion by Jin kingdom would take years, if not decades. If Qingyun sect's army presses upon us before that, how can our Xiahou family hold out until that day arrives? Xiahou Jie's voice was chilling as he spoke. Ancestor, since it's like this, why don't we abandon Blackwater Pool outright? Xiahou Wuwa, with a grave expression, said to his ancestor. Abandon Blackwater Pool. Xiahou Jie's ashen face was as rigid as metal, with dark evil qi flowing from his nostrils and mouth, like tiny snakes. Once we abandon Blackwater Pool, where can our Xiahou family go? Once it is confirmed that we've colluded with the demon path, leaving Jiang country would be a wild and foolish dream. By that time, the Heavenly Corpse sect in Jin kingdom would also view us as traitors, leaving no place for our Xiahou family. Furthermore, I have transformed myself into the dark demon corpse, and now my life force and mana are connected to the veins of Blackwater Pool, making it impossible for me to leave this place. Xiahou Jie's voice was icy, with surging evil qi all around him. He saw Xiahou Wuo's troubled expression and said, with an unfluctuating voice, Don't worry, it won't be easy for Qingyun's sect to destroy our Xiahou family here at Blackwater Pool. They would need to pay a heavy price. As long as we hold out until the Heavenly Corpse sect and the 5 poisons cult drive back Li Duanquan, the crises facing our Xiahou family will also be resolved. Now that Qingyun's sect has discovered our relations with the Heavenly Corpse sect, there is no need to hide any longer. Convert the family's great formation into the 10,000 corpses mysterious formation. Xiahou Jie continued. Yes, ancestor. Both of them nodded in response. Knowing that their ancestor was sending the direct bloodline out of Jiang country as a precaution. And now that things had come to this point, the Xiahou family had no other choice. On the 3rd floor of the spiritual vessel, in a luxurious guest room. True Immortal, the poison within Fairy Qing Yi is extremely domineering. It has already invaded her heart meridians. I am powerless to help. A woman in green garments cautiously reported after examining Chu Qinjia's condition on the bed. You've worked hard. Qiyun True Immortal's face showed a trace of disappointment. She also knew that the poison in Chu Qinjia's body was extremely tough and difficult to handle. Otherwise, as a false core immortal, she wouldn't need to seek help on a spiritual vessel, asking others to save Chu Qingyi. This was a situation with no other solution. Looking at Chu Qingyi, lying there with chaotic and weak breaths. Chapter 445. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. She continued to use her own mana to suppress the corpse poison, protecting the heart meridians, and nurturing the physical body. But she could clearly feel that the corpse poison was not only spreading throughout the entire body, Dantian and Qi Si, but also causing Chu Qingjia's vitality to weaken continuously. Fearing that in a few more hours, she would pass away. Even if the spiritual vessel traveled swiftly, there was no way to return to the Qingyun sect in time for treatment. Fellow Taoists, if any of you have spirit pills or precious medicines that can drive out or resolve poison, or any treasures, you are all welcome to give it a try. Regardless of the effect, this true immortal will provide compensation, and if you can suppress or detoxify the poison in my disciple nephew's body and ensure a stable return to Qingyun sect, our sect will certainly be grateful and owe you a favor. Qiyun True Immortal took a deep breath and continued to address the people on the spiritual vessel. Chu Qingyi was not only an inheritor of Qingyun sect, but also a disciple of Kaiyun True Immortal. Now that she was in a life-threatening condition due to a mission from Qingyun sect, she naturally wouldn't give up easily. On the spiritual vessel, everyone was aware of Fairy Qingyi's condition. Hearing Qiyun True Immortal's words, they couldn't help but feel tempted to try their own elixir medicines. After all, Qingyun's sect had a fairly good reputation. If they could save Chu Qingyi and gain a favor from Qingyun sect, it would be advantageous for them in many endeavors in Jiang country in the future. It seems that the main problem for Fairy Qingyi lies within the toxins in her body. I wonder if my 7 luminary sword chi can disperse this poison? Upon hearing Qiyun True Immortal's words, Lu Changxing quietly mused. Qiyun True Immortal, driven by desperation, was willing to grasp at any strand of hope. This made him consider giving it a try as well. After all, his 7 luminary sword chi could not only refine elixir toxicity, but also disperse the resentful spirits from false core immortals. It might have some effect on these kinds of poisons. Maybe I should give it a try. After thinking it over, Lu Changxing decided to make an attempt. Not to mention that saving Chu Qingyi would mean Qingyun sect owed him a favor. This Fairy Qingyi was also the senior sister of his child's mother, and he was willing to lend a hand. After all, he was just attempting to use the 7 luminaries' sword chi to drive out the poison. It wasn't like he was going to use the Yin-Yang Nirvana technique or the life transference technique to save someone. By the way, if I were to use the Yin-Yang Nirvana technique and life transference technique, wouldn't that make me a divine doctor? Lu Changxing suddenly recalled how he once saved Lu Miaoge, who was on the brink of death and barely clinging to life, with these 2 secret techniques. He shook his head, stepped out of the guest room, and made his way to the deck. Fellow Su, the cultivation technique I practice has some effect on expelling poisons. I am willing to give it a try to help Fairy Qingyi, Lu Changxing said to a Qingyun sect disciple. Good, fellow Han, please come with me. This Qingyun sect disciple immediately invited Lu Changxing to the 3rd floor. Then he went to a door and knocked. Enter, came an aged voice from inside. Elder, this is Han Li. He claims the cultivation technique he practices has some effect on driving out poison. The Qingyun sect disciple spoke up. I am Han Li, and I have the honor of meeting Qiyun True Immortal. Lu Changxing greeted Qiyun True Immortal with a cupped fist salute. Since that is the case, I shall trouble you, young friend Han. Qiyun True Immortal glanced at Lu Changxing and nodded slightly. Although she didn't believe that Lu Changxing could resolve Chu Qingjia's situation, she was still willing to try anything in a desperate situation. Yes, I will do my utmost. Lu Changxing nodded, approached the bed, and looked at Chu Qingyi. Fairy Qingyi's wounds had already been treated at this point, but her beautiful countenance and fair skin showed a grayish-green hue, indicating that toxins had spread through her body, causing her to be weak and frail. True Immortal, I need physical contact to use my cultivation technique on Fairy Qingyi to expel the poison. Lu Changxing prepared to grasp Chu Qingjia's wrist to start trying to use the 7 luminaries' sword chi to expel the poison, but he considered the rule that men and women should not touch each other casually. Moreover, for cultivators, physical contact allows one to use their divine sense to understand the full condition of the other person's body. Therefore, in the cultivation world, using mana or divine sense to touch someone else's body is considered taboo. It doesn't matter, Qiyun True Immortal said. In a critical situation, she didn't have so many concerns. All right, Lu Changxing nodded, took hold of Chu Qingjia's wrist, mana surged within him, and 7 luminaries' sword chi emerged through his body, slowly entering Chu Qingjia's body through the palm of his hand. Such pure and sharp sword chi. Qi-yun True Immortal observed the strands of 7 luminary sword qi, and her eyes suddenly saw Lu Changsheng in a new light. SSSSSSS, upon contact with the 7 luminary sword qi, the grayish-green hue on Chu Qingji's delicate arm started to sizzle like a hot frying pan, and the discoloration receded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ing. Lying on the bed, Chu Qingji's forehead beaded with sweat, and she made a soft moan. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Watching this scene, Qi-yun True Immortal immediately showed an expression of joy on her face. Her own false core mana could only suppress the corpse poison in Chu Qingji's body and slowly expel it. But now, Lu Changsheng's sword qi was able to quickly disperse the poison, which was astonishing. Is it really effective? Lu Changsheng observed this scene and raised an eyebrow. He had only hoped to try it out, but he hadn't expected the poison to be so easily dealt with, which increased his confidence in the effectiveness of the 7 luminaries' sword qi. However, this was just the beginning. He could clearly sense that the entire body of Chu Qingyi was permeated with corpse poison. The most critical was that the poison had entered her heart meridians and dantian. These areas were extremely delicate. If he were to use the 7 luminaries' sword qi to drive out the poison, it could be quite tricky, and any carelessness could injure Chu Qingyi. Chapter 446. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. True Immortal Qi-yun, although my mana can disperse the corpse poison, once the poison has entered the heart meridians and dantian, if I continue to expel the poison, I fear it might easily harm Fairy Qing-yi's heart meridians and dantian. After almost completely dispersing the poison in her forearm, Lu Changsheng wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, I can protect her heart meridians. Just go ahead and drive out the poison. Upon hearing this, True Immortal Qi-yun immediately responded. Although she could not expel the poison, she could temporarily suppress it and protect the vital signs of Chu Qingyi. Yes. Lu Changsheng nodded at her words. He then prepared to raise his hand to Chu Qingji's chest to expel the poison there. But the next moment, his hand froze, and he looked towards True Immortal Qi-yun. It's all right. A healer has the heart of a parent. Han, my friend, you go ahead and expel the poison without worry. True Immortal Qi-yun, understanding the implication, said solemnly. Yes. Only then did Lu Changsheng place his hand on her chest and continue to expel the poison with the 7 luminary sword qi. Even though he was separated by her dress, Lu Changsheng could feel the woman's skin was soft and delicate like condensed milk, with a faint fragrance lingering. Yet he, a man who had been through hundreds of battles, read through 1,000 scrolls. Although Fairy Qing-yi was captivating, she was not enough to stir any wild thoughts in him. Not bad. It seems this Han is indeed a gentleman. True Immortal Qi-yun watched Lu Changsheng seriously expelling poison from Chu Qingyi, nodding slightly to herself in admiration. She knew well the charm her niece possessed. Within the Qingyun sect, there were countless disciples who adored her and longed for her affection. Yet this Han, facing Chu Qingyi in such intimate healing, did not show the slightest bit of lewd expression. SSSSSSS. Threads of the 7 luminaries sword qi penetrated through Lu Changsheng's palm, entering the area around Chu Qingji's heart meridians, dispersing the corpse poison. But this poison differed from the earlier one. Like a vile disease clung to the bone, spreading throughout the meridians, corroding them. Even the 7 luminaries sword qi found it difficult to erase easily. Phew. After a while, Lu Changsheng withdrew his hand, exhaling deeply. With the profound origin bead, the consumption of his mana was naturally not that great. But as a false core immortal was present, he also did not want to show too much of his power, easily driving out the corpse poison. True Immortal, my mana is also unable to completely eradicate this corpse poison. I can only remove the surface poison, Lu Changsheng said to True Immortal Qi-yun. He was not lying. This corpse poison most likely entered the body through several wounds, congregating here like a disease clung to the bone, and then spreading and proliferating, making it troublesome. Even he could not solve it in just a moment or two. It's already enough that you could do this. Thank you for your efforts, my friend Han. I have an elixir medicine here you can take to recover your mana. True Immortal Chi-yun nodded, offering an elixir with a gentle tone. She did not need to completely eliminate the corpse poison. As long as Chu Kinjia's life force remained and she lived to return to the Qingyun sect, that would suffice. Within the Qingyun sect were third-rank healers, pharmacists, and spirit pills, naturally confident in reviving Chu Qingyi. Thank you, True Immortal. Lu Changxing nodded, recognizing the elixir medicine as a second-tier top-level energy-restoring elixir. He immediately consumed it and quickly began to recover his mana. After sitting in meditation for half an hour, he continued to expel poison from Chu Qingyi. Woof! At this time, Chu Qingyi moaned on the bed, her pale and weak face blushed slightly as a mouthful of black blood spewed out. Am I still alive? Chu Kinjia's long, dense eyelashes trembled lightly, and she slowly opened her beautiful eyes. She felt that after falling unconscious, she had plunged into an endless abyss of darkness. During that time, she could feel waves of force trying to pull her out of the abyss. But all to no avail. Her consciousness was gradually fading. Finally, it was the powerful and domineering sword Qi moving within her body that cleaved through the darkness of the abyss and gradually woke her consciousness. Fairy Qing-yi, you've awakened. True Immortal Qi-yun saw Chu Qingyi waking up and immediately showed a joyous expression. Phew! Seeing this, Lu Changxing also withdrew his hand from her chest, sighing lightly. At that moment, Chu Qingyi became aware of the presence of a man with his hand on her chest. A touch of blush immediately appeared on her pale face. Fairy Qing-yi, this Han has effective mana for expelling the poison, which is why he took such actions, True Immortal Qi-yun spoke out to explain. She was aware that her niece was pure and proud, typically keeping away from men. Now, she found herself intimately close to a man, which naturally could be discomforting. Thank you, Daoist Han, Chu Qingyi nodded slightly. She was not an unreasonable person. She knew that such intimate contact was part of her treatment. Had it not been for him, she might not have lived much longer. But before she could finish speaking, another mouthful of black blood burst forth. Daoist Han. True Immortal Qi-yun looked toward Lu Changxing, signaling him to continue the poison expulsion. Fairy Qing-yi, pardon me. Lu Changxing lifted his palm and spoke to Chu Qingyi. Chu Qingyi, with a voice as soft as a mosquito's murmur, gave a soft and closed her eyes, lying quietly on the bed. Her long, dense eyelashes fluttered like two small fans, constantly moving. Clearly, she was extremely tense. The next moment, she distinctly felt a warm hand land on her chest, causing her whole body to tense, her hands clenched into fists. Her feet arched tightly inside her white jade boots, and all 10 delicate toes were bunched together. Then, silken strands of sharp and domineering sword Qi entered her body, dispersing the corpse poison around her heart meridians. Chapter 447, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou Clan. _1 Chu Kinjia's figure was exquisite, lying flat on the bed. Her pale face flushed slightly, her slender body tensed up, her narrow phoenix eyes tightly closed. Her thick, long eyelashes and tightly pursed lips trembled lightly and incessantly. She had been in a coma before, unconscious. She hadn't felt anything when Lu Changxing expelled the poison from her using the 7 luminary sword Qi. But now that she has woken up, she was fully conscious. She could clearly feel a warm, large hand pressing against her chest, making her feel awkward and quite uncomfortable. But at the same time, the domineering sword Qi that slowly poured into her body from this palm brought her an indescribable comfort. It was as if she was in the icy snow, with a gentle warm breeze brushing against her. She felt as though she was bathing in the warm sun. As the sword Qi traveled through her body, dispelling the elixir toxicity, she felt like she was soaking in a hot spring, her whole body warm and cozy, extremely comfortable. Even her mana was being subtly drawn by this sword Qi. What is happening? Chu Kinjia's phoenix eyes remained tightly shut, unsure of what was going on. The other's sword Qi, why did it have such a strange attraction towards her? Is it because of the sword? Chu Qingyi murmured to herself. Since she could remember, she had been with the Qingyun sect, adopted by Yun Wanshang. She had always been a loner, not talkative, and uninterested in most things. However, one day after seeing Yun Wanshang's sword, she became curious, feeling an inexplicable closeness. Yun Wanshang told her she had a sword heart. After cultivating, she became a sword cultivator. Indeed, it turned out she was exceptionally gifted in the sword Dao. With sword heart clarity, her heart devoted to the sword. She not only mastered one of Qingyun sect's cornerstone cultivation techniques, the Qingyun sword technique, but also soared ahead of others on the path of the sword. At this moment, she faintly sensed that this inexplicable attraction was coming from the sword qi of the man in front of her. This sword qi, just like when she had seen her master Yun Wanshang's sword, had a strange allure to her, making her feel a kinship. It made her want to discuss and exchange views on the sword Dao with him. Phew. At that moment, Lu Changxing felt that he had almost finished expelling the poison from Chu Qingji's heart veins and retracted his hand from her soft and smooth chest, exhaling a long breath. The moment his hand left, Chu Qingyi, who was quietly experiencing the mysteries of the sword qi, couldn't help but let out a soft moan. Her soft and weak body, after having most of the poison expelled, felt a wave of soreness and swelling. Her tensed feet within her jade boots slowly relaxed, and her cool voice carried a hint of coquettish charm. This moan immediately made Chu Qingji's pale cheeks blush, her beautiful eyes cast down, somewhat embarrassed to look at Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing seemed not to notice her enticing moan. He said to Qiyun True Immortal with a serious face, "True Immortal, I have done my best to remove the poison from Fairy Qingji's heart veins. As for the remaining poison, I lack the capability to completely eradicate it." He was telling the truth. To remove the deep-seated residual poison, he would have to use the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Only by continuously burning the poison with the heart lamp's flame could he gradually refine it. However, it was clear he didn't need to go to such lengths. And he didn't want to show off too much. "You have worked hard, young friend Han," Qiyun True Immortal said. "Please rest and recover now, then continue to treat my disciple niece Qingji's Dantian poison. Afterwards, our Qingyun sect will definitely reward you handsomely, owing you a favor," she continued. Qiyun True Immortal had been monitoring Chu Qingji's heart veins and vital signs throughout. She knew that Chu Qingji's heart vein poison had been mostly resolved. Enough to last until they reached Qingyun sect. However, the poison had invaded not only her heart veins but also her qi ocean core. If not treated promptly, it could damage her Dao foundation. Once the Dao foundation is compromised, even core formation could be affected, which would be very serious. As she spoke, she took out a bottle of elixir medicines and passed it to Lu Changxing to help him recover his mana. "Yes, after I recover my mana," Lu Changxing replied as he accepted the elixirs and bowed slightly. "Many thanks, friend Han." Chu Qingyi also calmed her emotions, her face a bit flushed, and quietly thanked Lu Changxing. "Fairy Qingyi need not be polite. As it happens, I am good friends with Fairy Shiyu, and it is thanks to Fairy Shiyu that I was able to board your sect's spiritual vessel," Lu Changxing said with a smile. He had boarded the spiritual vessel using the ticket given to him by Xiao Xia. The Qingyun sect had record of this information. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate his information, they would find out that he was acquainted with Xiao Xia. Therefore, he openly disclosed his acquaintance with Xiao Xia. It was also a way to show a degree of closeness to the Qingyun sect. "Friend Han is actually a good friend of my junior sister," Chu Qingyi exclaimed with a bit of surprise when she heard this. Although she was often on missions away from the sect and didn't spend much time with her junior sister Xiao Xia, she knew that her junior sister, due to cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, was like the 9 heavens bright moon, undisturbed by emotions and external distractions. Aside from cultivating, she showed no interest in anything else, let alone socializing with others. Unexpectedly, this friend Han before her had become good friends with her own junior sister. But thinking of the 7 luminaries sword qi that Lu Changxing used to expel her poison, she felt somewhat relieved in her heart. She thought it was natural for someone like him to become friends with her junior sister. I didn't expect young friend Han to be good friends with Xiao, Qiyun True Immortal commented with slight astonishment. Then, a smile appeared on her face. With Lu Changsheng's mention, now that they had this connection, she regarded Lu Changsheng with added friendliness. I happened to encounter Shiyu Fairy during her training, so I was fortunate to get to know her, Lu Changsheng added. Chapter 448, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. Lu Changsheng said politely. Upon hearing this, the two did not ask any further questions. Anyone able to board this spiritual vessel generally had some relationship with the Qingyun sect. Either they were forces in cooperation with Qingyun sect, or they were forces under its jurisdiction, or they had relationships with disciples of Qingyun sect. Lu Changsheng swallowed the elixir medicines and sat in meditation to recover his mana. This spirit pill was a second-tier top-level elixir. In about half an hour, Lu Changsheng's mana had mostly recuperated. Qingyi Fairy, he said, turning his gaze to Chu Qingyi on the bed, who possessed a slender willowy waist and straight, long legs, her curves exquisite, with an air of heroic grace. Thank you for your trouble, Han. Chu Qingyi's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she said softly, then closed her beautiful eyes. Lu Changsheng extended his hand and placed it on her soft and flat lower abdomen. Doing so allowed the 7 luminaries' sword qi to better penetrate into her dantian, dispelling the poison inside. As soon as the 7 luminaries' sword qi surged into her dantian, Chu Qingyi's body tensed up and she couldn't help but let out a soft moan. If previously, the 7 luminaries' sword qi traveled through her body, dispelling the corpse poison in her vital channels and giving her the warm and comfortable feeling of soaking in a hot spring, this time, as the sword qi entered her dantian, it seemed to resonate mysteriously with her own mana and Dao foundation. Deep down, she felt an inexplicable closeness to Lu Changsheng, who was currently before her. Relax a bit. Lu Changsheng looked at Chu Qingyi before him, his expression also showing a hint of confusion. Chu Qingyi was clearly poisoned with corpse poison. Why was her complexion flushed and she kept letting out involuntary delicate moans? Could it be that the corpse poison also contained elements of some seductive poison? It's a good thing she met me, Lu. With anyone else, keeping a calm mind to expel the poison would be difficult, Lu Changsheng mused to himself. However, even with his vast experience, he had to admit that the Chu Qingyi before him was captivating. Her exquisite beauty and elegant figure surpassed countless other women. Even now, ashen and weak, devoid of color in her face, she still possessed a rare and refreshing heroic spirit among female cultivators. Moreover, this woman was a true disciple of Qingyun sect, endowed with exceptional talent. If he could marry her and have children, the children would certainly inherit excellent talents. Lu Changsheng's hand rested on the fairy's smooth and flat lower abdomen, as strands of 7 luminaries' sword qi slowly flowed into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, dispelling the corpse poison. At this moment, he discovered that when his 7 luminaries' sword qi entered deep into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, it resonated somewhat with her mana and Dao foundation. This sensation was very peculiar. He had never encountered it before. Is it because this Qingyi fairy is also a sword cultivator? Lu Changsheng wondered in surprise. Such a situation was exceedingly rare. Usually, such resonance occurred when the cultivation techniques practiced by individuals had some similar characteristics. However, this resonance merely allowed his 7 luminaries' sword qi to expel toxins from Chu Qingyi's dantian more smoothly, like a fish taking to water. It had no other effects. If anything, the two could perhaps sit down, discuss sword techniques, and exchange their cultivation experiences and insights, which might lead to some inspiration and assistance. But Lu Changsheng's 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, inherited through the system, was already very familiar to him, naturally leaving nothing to discuss. It seems young friend Han's cultivation technique is no ordinary technique, to be able to resonate with our Qingyun sect's Qingyun sword technique, showing a degree of commonality. Qiyun True Immortal, who had been using mana to maintain Chu Qingyi's vitality, also faintly sensed the unusual resonance and couldn't help being surprised. Their Qingyun sect protecting green sword art was a peripheral sect-level technique. If Lu Changsheng's cultivation technique could resonate with their sword scripture, it indicated his technique was anything but common. At the very least, it was a peripheral sect-level technique. For a loose cultivator to cultivate such a heritage technique suggested he was not simple and had possessed extraordinary fate to obtain such an opportunity and inheritance. Indeed, if he were an ordinary loose cultivator, he wouldn't have been able to associate and become acquainted with a heavenly genius like my junior martial niece Shiyu. Qiyun True Immortal cast a glance at Lu Changsheng. All right then, after quite some time, having dispelled most of the corpse poison in Chu Qingjia's Qi ocean core, Lu Changsheng withdrew his hand and said with a cupped fist salute. Thank you, Han. Chu Qingyi forcibly endured the tension in her delicate body, managing not to emit another embarrassing moan. Possibly due to the sustained suppression of her voice, usually clear and cold, now carried a slightly husky and magnetic quality. Fairy Qing-yi is too polite, Lu Changsheng replied with a slight bow, thinking to himself that her attempts to suppress herself revealed a rather charming demeanor. Young friend Han, you've taken a lot of trouble this time. Here is a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir, which should be helpful for someone in the Foundation Establishment middle stage aiming for the Foundation Establishment late stage. Please accept it. For this deed, our Qingyun sect also owes you a favor. If there is anything in the future, young friend can carry this token and come to our Qingyun sect. At this moment, Qiyun True Immortal took out a porcelain bottle and a token, speaking forth. On one hand, this was to thank Lu Changsheng for saving Chu Qingyi. On the other hand, it was also their Qingyun sect's willingness to be acquainted with a talented loose cultivator like Lu Changsheng. Such a generous gift, I truly feel undeserving. Lu Changsheng appreciated the elixir, thinking that as expected, a big sect like theirs was very generous. A high-grade first-rank breakthrough elixir for advancing from the energy refinement middle stage to the energy refinement late stage cost 1,200 spirit stones. But a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir, valuable for pushing from the Foundation Establishment middle stage to the Foundation Establishment late stage, was worth more than 10 times as much. Valued at over 20,000 spirit stones, and moreover, such elixir medicines were extremely scarce. Classified as priceless commodities, often there was no way to acquire them, even with money and without the right channels. Presumably, Qiyun True Immortal noticed that he was at the Foundation Establishment middle stage, which is why she offered such a valuable elixir as compensation. Chapter 449, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. As long as Han is not displeased, Qiyun True Immortal said with a smile. Under the circumstances of owing a favor to someone in the Qingyun sect, a generous gift in return is actually quite meaningful. But Lu Changsheng and Xiao Xia are good friends, and considering the recent poison removal process, her impression of Lu Changsheng was quite favorable, and she felt a degree of fondness towards him. Therefore, she was also willing to be more generous and reciprocate the good deed. Many thanks, True Immortal. Since that's the case, Han will take his leave and rest, Lu Changsheng said aloud. Since Chu Qingjia's corpse poison had been largely eliminated, it was not appropriate for him to linger any longer. And also, the poison removal process had been quite draining on the mental spirit. One had to be fully focused to prevent the sword qi from injuring Chu Qingyi. You've worked hard, young friend, Qiyun True Immortal nodded. He then turned to a Qingyun Sect Foundation establishment disciple outside and said, Xianfeng, arrange a luxurious guest room for Han. Yes, elder, the disciple called Xianfeng from the Qingyun sect immediately responded upon hearing this. Seeing Lu Changsheng in the room for so long, he knew that Lu Changsheng must have had some effect on Chu Qingjia's poison. He was a few degrees more courteous towards Lu Changsheng, gesturing with an inviting hand, Han Daoist friend, please. Then, he led Lu Changsheng to a luxurious guest room. This luxurious guest room was only about 30 square meters. But compared to ordinary guest rooms, this room was abundant in spiritual energy. It seemed that the spiritual energy that maintained the operation of the spiritual vessel was also channeled into this room on the third floor, allowing one to meditate and cultivate. Unlike in ordinary guest rooms, where the spiritual energy was sparse. If you wanted to meditate and cultivate, to recover mana, you could only rely on elixir medicines, spirit stones, spiritual wine, spiritual tea, and other means. I wonder how significant this so-called favor is, and whether it's possible to get a qualification to purchase a spirit land from the Qingyun sect. Lu Changxing didn't pay much attention to the surroundings, taking out the jade token that Qiyun True Immortal had given him from his storage bag. Regarding the favor owed to the Qingyun sect, the first thing that came to mind was to acquire the qualification to purchase spirit land through the Qingyun sect. In other aspects, he didn't really need to trouble the Qingyun sect for the time being. Later, I'll ask Shiyu about the weight of this favor, thought Lu Changxing, holding the jade token and pondering. He planned to ask Xiao Xie what the jade token represented and how the Qingyun sect might reciprocate. In that way, he could maximize the benefits of the favor. Speaking of which, I hope this spiritual vessel won't need to return to the Qingyun sect first before heading to Zhoushiao Immortal City. Lu Changxing put away the jade token and looked out at the sea of clouds outside the window. If they return to the Qingyun sect and then head to Zhoushiao Immortal City, it might cause a delay of a month or two. However, 5 days later, the spiritual vessel slowly came to a halt. Lu Changxing saw a man and a woman come aboard the spiritual vessel. Are these people from the Qingyun sect? Lu Changxing guessed. The cultivation levels of these two people, one was at the middle stage of foundation establishment, while the other was beyond his perception. Either they had some treasure to conceal their mana, or their strength surpassed foundation establishment. After a long while, he heard a knock at the door. The door opened, and Chu Qingyi was standing outside. Han Daoist friend, Chu Qingyi greeted Lu Changxing with a bow. Although she still appeared weak and disordered in her breathing, her complexion was much improved compared to before. She was dressed in an elegant palace gown and white skirt, her long black hair casually tied into a high ponytail, carrying a sky-blue spirit sword on her back. Her phoenix eyes were narrow and determined, and her whole being was like an unsheathed sharp sword. Qingyi Fairy, Lu Changxing looked at Chu Qingyi before him. He thought to himself that her temperament was somewhat similar to Xiao Xie's usual demeanor, cold and aloof, making her difficult to approach. However, Xiao Xie's temperament lacked this edge and sharpness, and was more noble and pure. Yet this kind of female sword immortal demeanor also gave a stunning beauty to her presence. Han Daoist friend, I will remember your life-saving grace in my heart. If there is anything you need in the future, you may come to the Qingyun sect, Chu Qingyi said to Lu Changxing. Fairy Qingyi is being too polite. If there is an opportunity, Han will certainly visit the Qingyun sect and discuss swordsmanship with Fairy Qingyi, Lu Changxing responded with a smile and a bow. He was also willing to foster relations with such a sect prodigy. After all, every interpersonal relationship could be helpful for the future development of his family. As for other thoughts, to say there were none would naturally be impossible. Such a talented female sword immortal would indeed make a great mother of one's child. But having the relationship with Xiao Xie, he did not feel it was appropriate to make a move on her senior sister. After all, she had a core formation master. If her master found out what he was considering, he really feared a single sword strike would end him. All right, Chu Qingyi, hearing this, showed a hint of joy in her eyes. She wasn't interested in most things, she was only interested in the sword. Previously, when Lu Changxing helped her with the poison, she resonated with the 7 luminaries sword qi, and felt an inexplicable affinity. She wanted to discuss sword Dao with Lu Changxing. But on one hand, her injuries were severe, and she was not in a condition to move around. On the other hand, she didn't know how to initiate the conversation. After all, she wanted to exchange cultivation experiences and insights into the sword Dao, but others might not be willing. Now that Lu Changxing had taken the initiative, she was naturally very pleased. After a brief farewell, Chu Qingyi joined the 2 people who had just arrived and boarded a small spirit boat, turning into a beam of light, and quickly flew away. Next, the spiritual vessel will officially set sail back, due to an affair in our sect delaying everyone's journey. Upon arrival at Zhoushiao Immortal City, we will refund 30% of the ticket spirit stones as compensation, and we ask for everyone's understanding. Qiyun True Immortal's voice rang out on the spiritual vessel. This served as a simple explanation for all the passengers. As for this form of compensation, naturally, no one had any complaints. Because even if Qiyun True Immortal and Qingyun's sect offered no compensation or explanation, there would be no choice but to hold one's peace. Chapter 450, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou Clan. _4, At last, we are setting sail. Upon hearing this voice, Lu Chongqing exhaled deeply as he watched the spiritual vessel head back toward Zhouxiao Immortal City. He had thought there would be a delay of a month or two. But at this pace, it was only a delay of 10 days to half a month. He considered that manageable. Straight away, he took out his brush and paper and continued his work on crafting talismans. Half a month later, a spirit boat entered Qingyun's sect. Upon Kaiyun Peak, Yun Wanshang saw the spirit boat and immediately transformed into a rainbow streak, shooting out toward it. She had been in seclusion when she learned of her disciple's situation and had come out to wait for Chu Qingjia's return. I pay my respects to Kaiyun True Immortal. I pay my respects to Kaiyun True Immortal. The two individuals on the spirit boat quickly bowed their hands in salute upon seeing Yun Wanshang. You have both worked hard. Yun Wanshang nodded. Since the Qingyun sect was too far from where the giant spiritual vessel was located, she had sent the two to go in her stead. She then turned with concern to Chu Qingyi, who looked pale and disordered. Qingyi, how are you faring? Master, I am unharmed, Chu Qingyi said, bowing her hands to her master. As she spoke, she reported, Master, I have fulfilled my duty without disgrace. Based on my investigation of the Xiahou family's ancestral land, the Xiahou family is likely an undercover agent for the Tian Corp sect of Jin Kingdom. There is also a hidden Yin vein below Blackwater Pool, through which the Xiahou family has been nurturing and refining corpses. Furthermore, based on my speculation, there are likely more than one false core immortal in the Xiahou family, Chu Qingyi said, sharing the information she had gathered. Undercover agents of the Heavenly Corpse sect. As I had expected. But I never imagined that the Xiahou family had concealed themselves so deeply, Yun Wanshang said, her beautiful eyes flashing coldly. To think there was a Yin vein beneath Blackwater Pool. No wonder Blackwater Pool, even though originally a low-grade second-rank spirit vein with harsh conditions, was valued by the Xiahou family, who chose to establish roots there and invested heavily in nurturing it. A false core immortal nearby commented upon hearing this. Qingyi, let's go. We will report this matter to the sect leader, Yun Wanshang said, her presence overwhelming as she and Chu Qingyi headed toward Qingyun Grand Hall. She had Chu Qingyi report the affairs of the Xiahou family truthfully to the Qingyun sect leader. The Xiahou family, Heavenly Corpse sect, the sect leader mused aloud. It seems the Xiahou family is indeed one of Heavenly Corpse sect's moles. With the sect hierarch of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Five Poisons cult leader challenging Xianjian True Monarch, seeking to invade our Jiang country, various moles from the Heavenly Corpse sect, Five Poisons cult, and Yiming Ghost sect have begun to make their moves, surfacing from the shadows, said the Qingyun sect leader with an authoritative voice and calm dignity. Since the Xiahou family is within our Qingyun sect's territory and has now been exposed, it must be dealt with promptly. Kaiyun sister, why don't you lead the team to handle this matter? The Qingyun sect leader suggested, looking at Yun Wanshang. It is possible, Yun Wanshang nodded and replied. She then added, however, Qingyi has made great contributions in investigating the Xiahou family this time. After this battle, it should be certain that she will receive her coagulation crystal elixir. Agreed, the sect leader murmured thoughtfully, nodding in agreement. Outside Qingzhou Mountain. On that day, a Qingyun sect disciple descended on a spirit boat. I pay my respects to my senior. The Lu family guards immediately replied with a respectful greeting upon seeing the Qingyun sect disciple. Summon the one in charge of Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. The Qingyun sect disciple commanded, his voice authoritative. Please wait a moment, senior, said the Lu family guard without delay. He promptly sent a message, notifying the family head Lu Miaochang and the old ancestor Lu Yuanzhong. Soon, Lu Miaochang and Lu Yuanzhong rushed over in haste. The Supreme Sect has a decree, the Xiahou family of Blackwater Pool has colluded with the demon path and injured our Qingyun disciples, and now we call upon all families to join in the attack, the Qingyun sect disciple declared, presenting a token and speaking loudly as soon as he saw Lu Yuanzhong. The Xiahou family of Blackwater Pool has colluded with the demon path? Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Miaochang were utterly shocked upon hearing this news. After all, the Xiahou family was a prominent cultivation clan. A family overseen by false core immortals. An entity that they, the Lu family, usually looked up to. But now, with Qingyun's sect declaring that the Xiahou family had colluded with the demon path and summoning all families to attack, it became clear they intended to eradicate the Xiahou family entirely. Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain obeys the command. Lu Yuanzhong responded without hesitation, with respect in his voice. These families under the jurisdiction of Qingyun's sect typically only had to provide tributes on schedule, and Qingyun's sect would not interfere with their affairs. But once there was a command from Qingyun's sect, they had to comply unconditionally, without opposition. Not just Qingzhou Mountain. The Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, the Wugong Ridge Xing family, the Hundred Birds Lake Bai family, the Ning family of the Stream Mountain, the Zhao family of White Tiger Mountain, and other family powers under Qingyun's sect's jurisdiction, all received the order. After all, to destroy the Xiahou family was not a matter of sending a single nascent soul immortal to deal with it and annihilate the entire Xiahou clan. Even a nascent soul immortal could leave something unchecked. Furthermore, to eradicate the Xiahou clan included also dealing with subordinate families, markets under their control, and external disciples, among other things. If all these tasks were to be handled by Qingyun's sect alone, it would require a significant temporary reshuffling of forces and disciples which might lead to losses. That's why these family powers within the region had their uses at such times. Chapter 451, Arriving at Zhouxiao Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again _1 The Qingzhou Grand Hall. The War Council Chamber. Lu Yuanzhong, the Lu family ancestor, was discussing with all the Lu family senior members and elders about the Qingyun sect's campaign against the Xiahou clan. Now that the Supreme Sect had issued an order, their Qingzhou's Lu family must send people to obey the summons and participate in this war. For these family powers, the war, though dangerous, was also an opportunity. As long as they made military contributions, the Qingyun sect would also reward them according to their achievements afterward. Spirit stones, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, secret cultivation techniques and other rare resources that usually couldn't be purchased could all be obtained in exchange for military contributions. Since that is the case, let's settle on this. In 3 days, Uncle Yunhan, Uncle Yunfei, Yuan Shan, Yuan Hua, Yuan Ling, Miaofeng, will accompany me to participate in this battle. Lu Yuanzhong announced decisively. Then, turning to Lu Yuanding and Lu Miaochang, he said, Yuanding, Miaochang, you both take care of the family. Although it is said that during the war, all family powers must not engage in conflicts, there's no guarantee that robber cultivators won't take the opportunity to cause trouble. So, during this time, you must all be on alert, increase the patrol frequency of the family, and if necessary, use thunderous methods to suppress any disturbances. Lu Yuanzhong commanded in a deep voice. Yes. As you command. Please rest assured, ancestor. In the hall, numerous figures rose to their feet and respectfully responded to Lu Yuanzhong. Miaoga, do you know where Changxing has gone, and if he can return to oversee the family? After the discussion had ended, Lu Yuanzhong looked towards Lu Miaoga and sent a telepathic inquiry. As the family ancestor, he now had to lead a part of the elders, senior members, and elite forces away from home. This would surely lead to a considerable weakening of the Lu family's internal strength. If Lu Changxing, the second-grade talisman master, were there to oversee things, it would add an extra layer of security. Moreover, having achieved the foundation establishment and being an ancestor, he was naturally not foolish. Through Lu Changxing's various actions, his children, and his spiritual pets, he had long since realized that Lu Changxing was not as simple as he appeared on the surface. He hid many secrets, and it was very possible that his cultivation level was much higher than just the 7th level of energy refinement. Thus, having Lu Changxing in Qingzhou Mountain to oversee things would make the family much more secure. Ancestor, Changxing has gone out on a matter with a friend and estimates that it will take at least a year before he can return, Lu Miao replied, pursing her lips lightly. She had not expected that just 3 months after Lu Changxing had left, such a situation would arise. However, Lu Changxing had not told her where he was going on this trip. All right. Lu Yuanzhong sighed slightly upon hearing this. He knew that Lu Changxing wouldn't be able to come back soon to oversee the family. He then said to Lu Miaoge, Miaoge, for the time being, the affairs of the Red Leaf Valley Market will be your responsibility. Yes, ancestor. Lu Miaoge nodded earnestly. With the second elder, Lu Yuanling, also accompanying Lu Yuanzhong on the trip, the responsibility for the Red Leaf Valley Market had fallen upon her. After pondering for a moment, Lu Miaoge telepathically conveyed, Ancestor, Changxing has a foundation establishment friend from the Qingyan sect. Before he left, he said if we run into any trouble, I should seek out his friend. So please rest assured, Ancestor. Not long ago, Xiao Xie had come to the Red Leaf Valley Market to see her daughter, Lu Wangshu. She had also made the acquaintance of this Shiyu fairy. So, to reassure her own ancestor and considering that if the family really faced a great crisis or trouble, she thought of seeking help from this Shiyu fairy. In the bottom layers of the cultivation world, having a relationship with a foundation establishment friend from the immortal sex was considered a very dependable background to rely on. It could act as a deterrent and solve many problems. A foundation establishment friend from the Qingyan sect. Very good, very good. Upon hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong's eyes immediately showed a hint of pleasant surprise. He had not expected that Lu Changxing would have such a connection. Knowing that even just a visiting foundation establishment cultivator from the immortal sex could have a certain deterrent effect when visiting Qingzhou Mountain. However, thinking back to the previous battle with the Qin family, when the Qin family's betraying foundation establishment female cultivator was present, Lu Yuanzhong suddenly became curious to ask whether Lu Changxing's friend from the immortal sex was also a female cultivator. Still, as the family ancestor, he restrained his curiosity and didn't delve into such gossip. 2 months later. We've finally arrived. Lu Changxing stood on the deck of the spiritual vessel, overlooking the sea of clouds. He could faintly make out a towering immortal city shrouded in multicolored light below. As the spiritual vessel slowed down, the grandeur of Jiuxiao Immortal City grew larger in Lu Changxing's view, so magnificent that the surrounding mountains seemed like mere hills to set it off. Jiuxiao Immortal City, so this is what an immortal city looks like. No wonder, in the vast Jiang country cultivation realm, with many marketplaces, there are only 3 immortal cities. Lu Changxing marveled inwardly at the ever-clearer and extremely majestic Jiuxiao Immortal City. This immortal city occupied hundreds of miles, several times larger than the Qingyan market. The surrounding towering mountains seemed to be cleaved by a sword to create spacious and flat roads. On the roads, one could see many beasts of burden and cultivators coming and going as if they were merchant convoys from the secular world. But in the skies above, many cultivators were constantly moving about. Magic artifacts, flying boats, spiritual artifacts, escape lights, all dazzling, indicating that this was not any secular world, but a world of immortals. Foundation establishment great cultivators, rarely seen on a daily basis, were quite common here. From time to time, escape lights from foundation establishment cultivators could be seen. Half an hour later. The massive spiritual vessel slowly hovered in front of the gate of Jiuxiao Immortal City. Fellow Taoists, we have arrived at Jiuxiao Immortal City, said Qiyun True Immortal as his voice echoed on the spiritual vessel. All the passengers came to the deck, ready to disembark from the spiritual vessel. Han Daoist friend, this is the 30% refund of the boat ticket due to the travel delay. Chapter 452, Arriving at Jiuxiao Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again at that moment. A Qingyun sect disciple named Xianfeng took out 3 middle-grade spirit stones and handed them to Lu Changxing. 30% of the ticket price. Lu Changxing remembered what Qi Yun True Immortal had said earlier, that due to deviation from the course, delaying the journey, 30% of the ticket price would be refunded as compensation. That meant his ride on the spiritual vessel cost him 1,000 spirit stones. However, when Xiao Xie had given him the ticket earlier, she did not mention anything about spirit stones. This indicated that Xiao Xie had paid for the spirit stones herself. It made sense too. Even though Xiao Xie was a core disciple of the Qinyan sect, it wasn't possible to ride the spiritual vessel without paying. Thank you, Daoist Xianfeng. Lu Changxing accepted the spirit stones. He couldn't help thinking to himself how expensive the ticket actually was. Even a regular cabin ticket cost 1,000 spirit stones. Not to mention a luxury cabin ticket, which must be 3,000 to 4,000 spirit stones. But he also understood that this price was probably just to cover the travel expenses. A vessel like this, traveling from Qingyun Market to Zhouxiao Immortal City, consumed a significant amount of spirit stones. Moreover, through conversations over these days, Lu Changxing also learned that this spiritual vessel mainly ferried between the Zhouxiao Immortal City for Qingyun sect and Heavenly Sword sect's business or strategic exchanges. Carrying other passengers was just incidental. Daoist Han is too polite. Due to the matter with Chu Qingyi, Xianfeng was very courteous to Lu Changxing. After giving a polite bow, he went to return the spirit stones to the other passengers. Daoist Han, if in the future you wish to return to Qingyun Market, you are welcome to board the spiritual vessel again. At this time, Qi Yun True Immortal also came up on deck and, looking towards Lu Changxing with a smile, said, "Thank you, True Immortal." Lu Changxing returned the greeting with a bow. Afterward, he flew down from the spiritual vessel and arrived at the entrance of Zhouxiao Immortal City. As soon as he descended, without the formation's spiritual light from the vessel enveloping him, he felt an intense oppressive force in the air. It was the third-rank Great Formation of Zhouxiao Immortal City. The rumors say that a third-rank formation, having fully connected with the spirit veins and becoming one with them, possesses the capability to create its own domain. Attempting to disturb such a great formation with a single attack or using talismans for breaking prohibitions is hardly effective. Lu Changxing looked at the city walls covered in various rune imprints and glowing with formation light, contemplating inwardly. Because of his family's formation, he had spent a considerable amount of time learning about formations. He knew that once a formation reached the third rank, it underwent a qualitative transformation. It could fully connect with the spirit veins and create its own domain. This not only allowed the locking of spirit veins easily but also the distribution of spiritual energy concentration among different areas. It also meant that the Great Formation had no weak points. Any assault or prohibition-breaking measures would have their power drastically reduced. All attacks would be distributed through this domain by the Great Formation. To such a domain, even the attacks of nascent soul immortals were limited. If a third-rank formation master presided over the Great Formation, maximizing its might, the power would be truly astonishing. Lu Changxing did not linger. Following the crowd, he entered a side hall at the city gate, registered his information, paid spirit stones, and got his identity token. This immortal city charges only 10 spirit stones annually, which isn't expensive at all. After handling his identity token, Lu Changxing took the token and entered the immortal city. As soon as he entered the city, he felt a sudden weight on him, a mysterious pressure descending upon him. Is this a flying prohibition? Lu Changxing's eyebrows knitted slightly. He immediately knew it was the effect of the celestial city formation, preventing Foundation establishment cultivators from flying within the city. In places like Red Leaf Valley Market or Nine Dragons Market, although using artifacts to fly and riding spiritual beasts were prohibited, once one became a Foundation establishment cultivator, they could fly within the marketplace. But Zhouxiao Immortal City's Great Formation directly imposed a flying prohibition, preventing even Foundation establishment cultivators from easily flying within the city. It makes sense, for a city like this with numerous Foundation establishment cultivators, allowing unrestrained flying would greatly affect the order. And with the flying prohibition, if someone caused trouble in the city, facing the enforcement team, escaping would be difficult. Lu Changxing murmured to himself, growing even more appreciative of the might of the third-rank Great Formation. Without delay, he began to stroll through Zhouxiao Immortal City. Zhouxiao Immortal City was divided into 3 major areas: the Outer City District, Inner City District, and Zhouxia Mountain. True large shops and businesses were all located in the Inner City District. However, the city's outer district was far more bustling than many marketplaces. Here, Lu Changxing also spotted several familiar signs. It seemed that these family powers had extended their shops and businesses into Zhouxiao Immortal City. After a brief look around, he headed towards the Inner City District. To make purchases, one must go to the Inner City District. Meanwhile, at the same time, just as Lu Changxing arrived in Zhouxiao Immortal City, at the base of Zhouxia Mountain, within a cave abode, a girl dressed in snow-white robes, with delicate features and an ethereal aura, opened her eyes. What's happening? Why do I feel an inexplicable impulsion, an unaccountable palpitation? The girl frowned her beautiful brows and muttered to herself. When cultivators experience a sudden impulse or palpitation, it often signifies that something is about to happen. Xiao Chan. Just then, a beautiful woman walked into the room. The woman was dressed in a well-tailored, tight-fitting black gauze long dress. The dress hugged her curvaceous and enchanting figure, with her shoulders exposed, smooth and fair. It made men naturally want to embrace her shoulders in their arms. Her slender waist accentuated prominent curves that led to a full and ample bosom. Long, straight, and fair legs peeked out slightly under the hem, standing in a pair of slender, heel-stiletto black shoes with a faintly pink sole. Chapter 453, Arriving at Zhouxiao Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again, she exuded seduction with every fiber of her being, with every gesture and step. Master. Meng Xiaochan looked at the beautiful woman before her and immediately called out. You little girl, I told you to call me mother now. Nangong Mili looked at the girl before her, her lips curving into a charming smile, and pinched her fair and tender face. As if that wasn't enough, her soft, rosy lips kissed Meng Xiaocan's fair and delicate cheek. Mother. Meng Xiaochan smiled sweetly and called out affectionately. On this trip outside with her master, the two had disguised themselves as mother and daughter. Good girl, come here, open your mouth. The beautiful woman sat down beside the bed, her ample buttocks pressed into a bountiful pastry. She pinched a red spirit fruit between her fingers and fed it to Meng Xiaochan. With a gentle smile, she radiated an alluring charm, yet amidst this enticing aura, she did not lose her mature and elegant demeanor. Meng Xiaochan couldn't help but sigh to herself, her own master was truly a seductress. The allure was irresistible to both men and women alike, difficult for anyone to withstand. She obediently opened her mouth and ate the red spirit fruit. Seeing her disciple's adorable appearance, Nangong Mili let out a soft, coquettish laugh. She picked up another red spirit fruit and placed it into Meng Xiaocan's mouth. Come on, good girl, have one more. As she spoke, her fair fingers touched the disciple's red lips, and only after the small mouth and teeth bit down on the spirit fruit in her hand and the little tongue rolled it into her mouth did she gently withdraw her moist finger. Mother, did you need me for something? Seeing Nangong Mili holding another spirit fruit, ready to feed her, Meng Xiaochan immediately asked. Can't a mother find her good daughter to chat without reason? The beautiful woman put on a tearful and aggrieved expression, appearing just like a coquettish young girl, pitiful to the point where even steel could turn tender. Master, Meng Xiaochan called out, exasperated. At first, when she met her master, the nascent soul immortal maintained a sense of authority in front of her. But as they spent more time together, she discovered her master's playful and capricious nature, finding amusement in teasing her along the way. All right, down to business. As the sect hierarch in the Heavenly Corpse sect master's big battle with Li Duanchuan is about to begin, our side should also make some moves. Nangong Mili's gorgeous face showed a dignified expression. Which family are we contacting this time? Meng Xiaochan asked. She had come to Jiang country with her master, Nangong Mili, to contact the sleeper agents embedded there by their sect. If the Five Poisons cult leader and Heavenly Corpse sect master could repel Jiang Country Cultivation Realms number 1, Xianjian True Monarch Li Duanquan, then Jin Kingdom would initiate the Great Battle and invade Jiang Country. At that time, those like them who had already infiltrated the Jiang Country Cultivation Realm would gather their sleeper agents and cooperate with the Jin Kingdom's forces both from within and without. We've almost contacted everyone we need to. Since we're taking action, naturally we have to target Zhoushiao Immortal City, create chaos in Jiang Country, and strike at the morale of Jiang Country, Nangong Mili said softly, pinching her face. You mean to act directly against Zhoushiao Immortal City? Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaoquan's eyes widened, her mouth slightly agape. Although Nangong Mili before her was a nascent soul immortal, Jin Kingdom's 3 great demonic sects had also dispatched other nascent soul and false core immortals to Jiang Country. But the thought of striking such an immortal city was utterly delusional. After all, Zhoushiao Immortal City also had nascent soul immortals in residence. Moreover, Zhoushiao Immortal City was protected by a 3rd-rank Great Formation. If a nascent soul immortal skilled in formation were to command it, within the city they would be unrivaled. Unless a nascent soul true lord descended personally. Of course, it's not what you're thinking. You'll know when the time comes. Nangong Mili saw her disciple's expression and guessed her thoughts, pinching her face with a slightly amused air. She then affectionately took Meng Xiaoquan's arm and walked out of the cave dwelling. Wainer, you're here. The moment the two stepped out of the cave, a tall and authoritative man with a hint of ferocity in his eyes brightened up and approached them. He looked at Nangong Mili, his imposing demeanor melting away as the ferociousness in his eyes disappeared, leaving only infatuation. Did you buy the things I asked for? Nangong Mili looked at the middle-aged man before her with a cold expression, void of charm, and asked in a cool voice. I have bought everything. The middle-aged man pulled out a storage bag and stepped forward eagerly, his face filled with an appeasing look. Not bad. Nangong Mili took the storage bag, glanced at it, and nodded indifferently. Then, continuing to hold Meng Xiaoquan's wrist, she proceeded toward the inner city. Mother, isn't True Lord Xiang coming with us? Meng Xiaochan asked her master. But as soon as she spoke, she saw the middle-aged man looking at Nangong Mili with deep infatuation, keeping his distance from them while following closely. Recalling how Nangong Mili had told True Lord Xiang to maintain a certain distance from them, Meng Xiaochan hardly knew what to say. A nascent soul immortal, so humble in the presence of her master. The two made their way from Zhoushiao Mountain to the inner city district. Walking down the bustling streets, Meng Xiaochan felt a premonition and looked ahead to a tall, robust middle-aged man with a heroic countenance. For some reason, upon seeing this middle-aged man, her heart fluttered with an inexplicable familiarity. At this moment, Lu Changxing also seemed to sense something. He turned his head to look in the right front direction. He immediately saw a black-clad beauty and a white-dressed girl walking hand in hand. The beauty was stunning, her body sinuous in a black gauzy dress. Indeed, her entire being exuded an irresistible alluring charm. Even Lu Changxing, battle-hardened as he was, found the beauty to be exceedingly lovely and enchanting. Chapter 454, Arriving at Zhoushiao Immortal City, meeting Meng Xiaochan again _4 Naturally stunning, a peerless charm. However, his gaze first fell upon the white-dressed girl next to the woman in black. The pure and innocent face of this white-dressed girl, along with her ethereal aura, formed a sharp contrast with the voluptuous woman. Her slightly petite figure was also developing nicely, curvy in all the right places. But walking hand in hand with the woman in black, she seemed somewhat slight, not quite as eye-catching. When Lu Changxing looked towards this girl, for some reason, he felt an inexplicable and familiar sense of wonder. My dear daughter, what's wrong? Nangong Mili observed Meng Xiaochan suddenly pause in her steps and gaze towards somewhere not too distant, then followed her line of sight with a glance before leaning down slightly and asking softly. It's nothing. Meng Xiaochan immediately snapped back to reality and shook her head. But in her heart she couldn't help but ponder, who was that person? She had great faith in her own intuition. If she felt familiarity, then she must have met this person before. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember having met such an individual before. However, Nangong merely brought her to a courtyard where many were discussing matters, interrupting her train of thought and preventing her from dwelling on it further. Lu Changxing watched as the woman in black and the girl in white left and was somewhat puzzled. Because having broken through to the Foundation establishment realm, he shouldn't have inexplicable feelings or whims. Could it be the influence of a peach blossom goo? Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly as he queried the peach blossom goo. He wanted to know if the strange and familiar feeling had any connection to the peach blossom goo. After all, aside from the bewildering and mysterious influences of a peach blossom goo, he could think of no other reason. Affection, the peach blossom goo conveyed a thought. It informed Lu Changxing that this peculiar feeling did not originate from itself, but from another goo. The backlash of the goo in the past. Could it be her? Lu Changxing, upon receiving the thoughts from the peach blossom goo between his brows, felt somewhat surprised. He immediately realized that the white-dressed girl was Meng Xiaochan, who had once cast a love goo on him that backfired. Who would have thought that after more than 10 years I would encounter her here? Lu Changsheng's brows lifted, and he let out a light chuckle. No wonder he had felt that inexplicable sense of familiarity just now. As for meeting Meng Xiaochan, he wasn't particularly moved. The battle between the Lu family and the Qin family back then happened to owe much to Meng Xiaochan. Moreover, after the event, Meng Xiaochan had given him 2 Foundation Establishment elixirs and 1 Foundation Establishment spirit object. Thus, in his mind, any debt of gratitude or grievance with Meng Xiaochan was settled. So he harbored no resentment toward Meng Xiaochan. And he didn't dwell on her too much. At most, he wanted to ask Meng Xiaochan about the effects of the goo that he had seized from her. She seemed to glance this way just now, probably due to the love goo, right? But now that I have the misty sky bead masking my aura, I wonder if she can recognize me. Lu Changxing mused to himself. Meng Xiaochan had disguised herself. If not for the peculiar familiar feeling just now and the hint from the peach blossom goo, he would never guess who she was. Thus, he was curious whether Meng Xiaochan could recognize him upon seeing him. If she did recognize me, would that be considered peach blossom luck? Lu Changxing stroked his chin, recalling when Meng Xiaochan had departed. She had said she had urgent matters to attend to and couldn't stay by his side, but once those were resolved, she would spend the rest of her life with him. She must have been young then. To have reached the Foundation establishment at such an age suggests that her spiritual root talent is above average. If we were to have children, their spiritual root talent would likely be quite exceptional. Lu Changxing thought to himself. Although in the cultivation world age is not easily discerned by examining bones, and it's difficult to tell one's true age, not everyone in the cultivation world's lower echelon can afford to take elixirs of youth or practice preserving appearance techniques. Therefore, by one's outward appearance, a general estimate of their age can still be made. He remembered when he first encountered Meng Xiaochan, she was at the late stage of energy refinement, disguised as a young man, and later on, always appeared as a young girl. It suggested that she wasn't too old. Later, her ability to achieve foundation establishment on her own indicated a rather impressive spiritual root talent. There's no use counting my chickens before they hatch. And the beautiful woman by her side didn't look simple. Could she possibly be her mother? Lu Changxing shook his head, deciding not to dwell on it any further. When he had encountered Meng Xiaochan in the past, she was always quite resourceful. The first time, she managed to survive under his talisman treasure, the golden light brick. The second time, if not for the peach blossom goo on his side, he might have fallen into her hands. The third time, she had even become a foundation establishment cultivator. Furthermore, she was able to offer him 2 foundation establishment elixirs and a foundation establishment spirit object. Such generosity was not something many foundation establishment families could afford. It revealed to him that Meng Xiaochan was no ordinary individual. Though he's now at foundation establishment, with methods comparable to those with false cores, his main purpose this time was to purchase goods. There was no need to complicate matters by contemplating taking Meng Xiaochan back for the purpose of bearing children. Moreover, as long as the love gu provided a connection, he and she were bound to unite sooner or later. There was no need to rush. Without delay, Lu Changxing arrived at an inn, booked a room, altered his appearance with the misty sky bead within the room, changed into a blue magical robe, and headed to the largest merchant house in Jiuxiao Immortal City, the Jiuxiao Merchant House. This trip was all about making major purchases. Even with the misty sky bead in use as a disguise, it still paid to be cautious. Besides, his identity as Hanli was known to some from the Qingyun sect and other passengers aboard the spiritual vessel. Welcome to Jiuxiao Merchant House. May I know if the guest is looking to buy or sell? Upon arriving at Jiuxiao Merchant House, a beautiful female cultivator dressed in a uniformed skirt came forward to greet him. Do you have third-rank talisman-making materials? Lu Changxing asked. Third-rank talisman-making materials? The hosting female cultivator showed a hint of surprise upon hearing Lu Changxing's words. Chapter 455, Arriving at Jiuxiao Immortal City, Meeting Meng Xiaochan again _5, The guest jests. Third-rank materials are strategic resources, extremely scarce and seldom sold to the outside, such as third-rank talisman-making materials. Our Commerce Guild currently does not sell them to outsiders. If you, guest, are a second-tier top-level talisman master, and if you are willing to become a guest elder offering services for our Commerce Guild, we would have third-rank talisman-making materials available for you. The receptionist cultivator smiled kindly as she spoke. Not for sale to outsiders. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing's heart sank slightly, a sense of disappointment washing over him. Before, he had guessed that Jiuxiao Immortal City wouldn't have too many third-rank materials on offer. But he had absolutely not expected that the Jiuxiao Commerce Guild wouldn't sell third-rank talisman-making materials to outsiders at all. However, Lu Changxing also understood when he thought about it. Materials of this level are precious and rare. Most are used to cultivate their own talisman masters. How could they possibly sell them to outsiders? Moreover, the great immortal sects also monopolize resources in this manner, forcing artisans of a certain level to choose to join a power. Otherwise, limited by material channels, their skills would scarcely advance. Ordinary loose cultivators, of course, would be happy to join a major power and enjoy the benefits. But his current situation didn't allow the convenience of joining the Jiuxiao Commerce Guild. It seems I can only go through Qingyun sect for this. But even entering Qingyun sect, obtaining third-rank materials will not be simple. Lu Changxing inwardly sighed. I wonder if your guild may have these materials. He took out the list of materials required for crafting the 99 Mysterious True Strategy and asked. The second-tier auxiliary materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy artifact had already been completely purchased through 9 Dragons Market and Qingyun Commerce Guild. He still lacked 4 main third-rank materials. Please wait, guest. The receptionist said immediately upon hearing this. She took out a jade scroll and began to check the various materials listed for Lu Changxing. Guest, our guild currently has a piece of dark essence steel and blue lapis goldwood. After a while, the female cultivator took out the jade scroll and spoke to Lu Changxing. Dark essence steel, blue lapis goldwood. Lu Changxing's face immediately revealed a joyous expression upon hearing this. He thought it's indeed worthy of a big commerce guild from the Immortal City, to have 2 pieces of third-rank materials available at once. And this dark essence steel was even one of the most precious materials for crafting the 99 Mysterious True Strategy. He had thought that acquiring dark essence steel would be the most troublesome. May I ask the price of these 2 materials? Lu Changxing inquired. Dark essence steel, 21,000 spirit stones, blue lapis goldwood, 13,000 spirit stones, the receptionist announced the prices. Hiss. Even though Lu Changxing was quite wealthy, he still couldn't help but gasp at these prices. Because they were indeed expensive. At this rate, just purchasing the artifact 99 Mysterious True Strategy alone would cost him 60 to 70,000 spirit stones. This price had already surpassed that of a spiritual artifact. Agreed, bring me these two materials. Lu Changxing said aloud. Expensive or not, there was no choice. After all, he had come all the way here. Moreover, with the 99 mysterious true strategy artifact in hand, the power and techniques he could wield from the 99 mystical talisman scripture through the talisman refinement formation would greatly increase. So, in Lu Changsheng's view, the expense was still worthwhile. Immediately after, the receptionist invited him to a room, where an advanced-level receptionist conducted the transaction with him. For materials of third rank, which are expensive and rare, ordinary receptionists did not have the authority to withdraw them from inventory. Does your guild accept spirit talismans? After inspecting the two materials and when he was about to pay, Lu Changxing took out a stack of second-rank talismans and asked. Over the past 3+ months of his visit, he had drawn many second-rank talismans. It was to avoid running short on spirit stones. So now, at the time of payment, he directly took out some talismans to use as a discount off the spirit stones. Second-rank spirit talisman? The advanced receptionist examined the talismans and agreed to purchase them at 60% of the market price. Hearing this, Lu Changxing used 30 second-rank lower-grade spirit talismans and 10 second-rank middle-grade spirit talismans to discount 10,800 spirit stones. After paying the remaining spirit stones, he left the Zhouxiao Commerce Guild. Then, he inquired about other materials, third-rank talisman-making materials, in the shops of Zhouxiao Immortal City one by one. Zhouxiao Commerce Guild not selling third-rank talisman-making materials to the public didn't mean all shops wouldn't sell them. Furthermore, Lu Changxing also began to inquire about third-rank spiritual wood, third-rank spiritual blood, and so on. If there were no third-rank talisman-making materials for sale, then he would purchase third-rank spiritual wood and spiritual blood to craft his own talisman paper and spirit ink. After shopping around the Immortal City for 2 days, Lu Changxing had some gains. He managed to purchase some third-rank talisman-making materials and a few rare alchemy spirit medicines. The materials for the 99 mysterious true strategy were only one item short of completion. An auction event? At this point, Lu Changxing learned some news. In a month and a half, there would be a semi-annual small auction event in Zhouxiao Immortal City. Upon hearing this news, he became interested and thought he might attend to see. One reason was, items he needed might appear at the auction. Another was that after the auction ended, there would be a transaction event, allowing cultivators trade amongst themselves. This kind of direct trading often featured rare items. But before that, I need to earn some spirit stones, Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. The shopping of the past couple of days had nearly depleted the spirit stones he had with him. So naturally, if he wanted to participate in the auction, he needed to prepare some spirit stones. On this trip, he not only purchased a large quantity of talisman materials but also many alchemy materials. These alchemy materials were sufficient for him to craft harmonizing energy elixir, 3 suns elixir, and a myriad of other second-rank elixir medicines. Thus, Lu Changxing decided to spend some time trying out the second-rank alchemy skills he had drawn but had never used before, to replenish his storage bag. Chapter 456, The Great Formation of Myriad Corpses and Profound Darkness, Alchemy. _1 Blackwater Pool, Xiahou Family. Boom, 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 the entire Blackwater Pool was enveloped by the Blackwater Profound Wind Formation. Above the formation, gray and black mists converged, resembling a vision of mountains of corpses and seas of blood, with the sounds of ghosts wailing and wolves howling. Around the formation, numerous flying boats blocked off Blackwater Pool such that not even water could escape. Atop these spirit boats, formation patterns twinkled, with a great convergence of spiritual light transforming into thick bolts of lightning that bombarded the Blackwater Profound Wind Formation, causing a tremendous commotion. Not only that, but from all directions, multiple cultivators under the guidance of array masters, executed their techniques and manipulated magic artifacts, attacking the weak points of the formation. 2 months ago, Qingyun's sect publicly declared the Xiahou family of Blackwater Pool to be aligned with the demon path, calling all forces within its jurisdiction to crusade against the Xiahou clan. In less than a month, all subordinate family forces and marketplace scions affiliated with the Xiahou family encountered strikes, being swept clean. And for the Xiahou clan's main stronghold, Blackwater Pool, Qin Yun's sect even dispatched nascent soul immortals to lead the crusade. However, to everyone's surprise, the Xiahou family's original clan-protecting, Blackwater Profound Wind Formation unexpectedly transformed into the third-rank, Blackwater Profound Wind Formation. Even with a nascent soul immortal from Qin Yun's sect present, they could not break through the formation for a while. Inside Blackwater Pool. Elder, I'm afraid it won't be long before Qin Yun's sect sets up their formation, uses it to break our formation, affecting the ley lines of our Blackwater Pool, thus breaking through the grand formation, the Xiahou clan leader said to Xiahou Wuwa with concern. He could clearly see that on several surrounding mountains, Qin Yun's sect's array masters were setting up their formations. Rest assured, with the elder ancestor securing the formation, unless Qin Yun's sect brings 2 more nascent soul immortals, they won't be able to easily breach the great formation. Moreover, as long as we drag out the time, once Jin Kingdom makes a move, the Heavenly Corpse sect, 5 Poisons cult, and Yiming Ghost sect will also take action. By then, Qin Yun's sect will be too busy to care about us, Xiahou Wuwa said with an indifferent expression, calming his mental spirit. But in his eyes, a trace of worry was revealed. Because all of this was predicated on the assumption that the sect hierarch of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the 5 Poisons cult leader could repel the Xianjian true monarch Li Duanshuan. If Jin Kingdom failed in their invasion, their Xiahou family would become a disposable pawn of little significance. Outside the Great Formation, a massive spiritual vessel, a giant ship, loomed in the sky. On the deck of the spiritual vessel, a peerlessly beautiful woman clad in palace attire stood. Her eyebrows were like distant dais, her eyes deep like autumn waters, her nose high, her lips red and luscious, attractive as a fresh bloom. Her raven-black hair was coiled up into a cloud bun, with a phoenix hairpin slanted across it, exuding an aura of nobility and grace. How much longer until the earth-shaking formation is complete? Yun Wanshang stood with her hands behind her back, high above, her gaze filled with an indescribable coldness, as if looking down upon all beings, surveying Blackwater Pool below. Reporting to Kaiyun True Immortal, we estimate it will take 1 more month for the earth-shaking formation to be completed, an array master replied as he flew onto the spiritual vessel. Gazing at the awe-inspiring beauty, astonishment shone in his eyes as he bowed respectfully and spoke. Make it faster, Yun Wanshang commanded coldly upon hearing this. She radiated an intangible majestic aura that shook one's soul. Yes. The array master shuddered upon hearing her command, answering with a reverent tone. Jiuxiao Immortal City. Inside an inn. Alchemy first requires a pill furnace. As a second-tier top-level alchemist, I can't believe I don't even have a pill furnace. Lu Changxing thought about making a quick profit through alchemy, only to remember that he didn't even own a pill furnace. Alchemy is unlike talisman making, it's very time-consuming. If I use my foundation establishment's spirit flame for alchemy, I cannot be distracted and do other things, so, the best approach is to rent an alchemy chamber that has an earth fire for alchemy. This way, I can save money on buying a pill furnace and also make talismans while doing alchemy, Lu Changxing silently concluded and left the inn, preparing to see if there were alchemy chambers for rent in the Immortal City. After all, he was currently short on money, and had many pending expenses that required spirit stones. If he spent 20 or 30,000 spirit stones just to temporarily get a pill furnace, it truly wouldn't be worth it. It was completely reasonable to wait until he had the spare money to purchase a good furnace outright. Furthermore, as a top-tier alchemist, he didn't need to constantly watch over the pill furnace like most alchemists. He could engage in other activities while the alchemy process was underway, and even operate several furnaces simultaneously. If he relied solely on his foundation establishment's spirit flame for alchemy, he wouldn't be able to divert much attention to other tasks. That's why he opted to rent an alchemy chamber instead. Otherwise, spending the whole day by the furnace was too much of a waste of time. He might as well earn money making talismans. May I know if your esteemed establishment has second-rank pill furnaces and alchemy chambers for rent? After inquiring around briefly, Lu Changxing approached an alchemy workshop and asked. Second-rank pill furnace and alchemy chamber? What we currently open to the public are merely near second-rank alchemy chambers, the attendant of the workshop replied, shaking her head. We don't have a second-rank chamber for rent, and pill furnaces are not available for rent externally. If you are a second-rank alchemist and willing to become our guest elder, we are prepared to provide a pill furnace and a second-rank alchemy chamber for your use. Lu Changxing asked 5 or 6 different alchemy workshops and stores. All indicated that they didn't have second-rank chambers for rent. Even in Zhouxiao Immortal City, second-rank alchemists held a status. Such alchemists did not have the need to rent a second-rank alchemy chamber, as they possessed their own alchemy chambers. Chapter 457, The Great Formation of Myriad Corpses and Profound Darkness, Alchemy. And these alchemy workshops and alchemy stores mostly provide second-rank alchemy chambers for their own alchemists and do not lend them out to outsiders. Do I really have to buy a pill furnace and make elixirs at home? In that case, I'd be better off making money through talisman making. After walking out of an alchemy workshop, Lu Changxing shook his head slightly. He had originally thought that with the high profits from alchemy, he would easily make a fortune. However, he didn't expect to be stumped by such a trivial issue. Forget it, this is the last place. If it doesn't work out, I'll put alchemy aside for the time being. When I return, I'll see about setting up an alchemy workshop in the Hongya marketplace, hiring a couple of fire-stoking boys and alchemy apprentices. Lu Changxing gazed at the alchemy pavilion ahead, musing to himself. He then stepped forward and walked in. Inside the store, there was only one girl around 15 or 16 years of age. The girl was dressed in a goose-yellow gown, with a shirder hairstyle, eyes like pools of water, a cute nose, and rosy lips. Propping her fair little hand against her cheek in boredom, her small feet in delicate embroidered shoes swung under the goose-yellow gown. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, she immediately perked up and inquired, "Welcome, may I ask what kind of elixir medicines the customer wishes to purchase? I'd like to ask if you have a second-rank pill furnace and alchemy chamber for rent?" Lu Changxing asked, looking at the girl. "A second-rank pill furnace and alchemy chamber, that's not something we offer to the public." The girl shook her head subconsciously in refusal upon hearing this. Every alchemist dislikes others entering their own alchemy chamber or using their pill furnace. Moreover, lending it out to the public is dangerous, as mishaps such as explosions in the furnace could occur. But as soon as she spoke, she looked at Lu Changxing and asked, "May I know if the customer is a second-rank alchemist?" "If you are a second-rank alchemist, our store does have a second-rank pill furnace and alchemy chamber available." The girl gazed at Lu Changxing with bright, hopeful eyes. "I'm a second-rank alchemist, but am not currently interested in serving as a guest elder and being an alchemist exclusive to a store," Lu Changxing said with a smile, shaking his head. A couple of the stores he had visited earlier were also willing to provide a second-rank pill furnace and alchemy chamber. But the condition was signing a spiritual contract to become a guest elder or an alchemist exclusive to the store. Although he possessed the misty sky bead, which could deceive a spiritual contract, the basic ethics in his heart prevented him from doing such a thing. "Is that so?" The girl fell into thought, biting her finger upon hearing that. "Since it's not available for public rental, then I won't disturb you anymore." Lu Changxing didn't mind, slightly bowing his hands towards the young girl. "Senior, please wait. Our store's pill furnace and alchemy chamber are currently unused, and we can rent them to the senior. But the price is 50 spirit stones per day, with a minimum rental period of 10 days, and the spirit stones consumed by the earth fire array need to be provided by you, the senior," the girl in the yellow gown called out as Lu Changxing started to leave. "Oh." Lu Changxing paused in his steps, nodded to the girl, and replied, "No problem." 50 spirit stones a day was not expensive. After all, buying a second-rank pill furnace would cost at least 10,000 spirit stones. And a top-grade second-rank pill furnace, twice as expensive as a talisman brush, would cost 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. That was also the reason Lu Changxing was hesitant to buy a pill furnace for himself at the moment. "Let's start with 10 days then, and if I need to continue later, I can top up, can I?" Lu Changxing took out 500 spirit stones and spoke to the girl. No problem, senior, please follow me." The girl nodded vigorously, a smile spreading across her face as she accepted the spirit stones. She then led Lu Changxing to the backyard of the store, in front of a house built of black bricks. Lu Changxing touched the black wall, feeling its chill. He knew it was made of bunka stone. This type of brick withstands high temperatures very well. Most alchemy and artifact refinement rooms are constructed of this material. Otherwise, the mere heat from earth fire alone would melt most materials. "Senior, this is our alchemy chamber. The fire is very stable, enough to produce most types of elixir medicines," said the girl as she took out a token and unlocked the chamber's restraint. The interior wasn't large, only 40 to 50 square meters, clean and simple. On each of the 4 walls hung a gourd the size of a fist. In the center of the room lay a flat circular stone platform about a meter wide made from bunka stone, only half a foot tall. Around the outer edge of the round platform were inlaid 8 small, fiery red dragon heads, lively and vivid. Their mouths were slightly raised, pointing directly at the space above the center of the platform, poised as if to spout fire. "How is this used?" Lu Changxing looked at the alchemy chamber, knowing that the round platform was the mouth of earth fire, and asked aloud. "The senior doesn't know?" The girl tilted her small head, looking somewhat surprised. In Zhouxiao Immortal City, anyone wishing to open an alchemy or artifact refining shop that requires access to earth fire must apply through the city administration. Thus, the alchemy chambers in Zhouxiao Immortal City are mostly similar. "It's my first time in Zhouxiao Immortal City," Lu Changxing explained. "So that's how it is," the girl said, understandingly. Then she comprehended why Lu Changxing needed to rent the alchemy chamber. She immediately stepped forward adorably and pointed at the round platform, explaining, "This is the earth fire mouth of the alchemy chamber. The earth fire needed for alchemy is spouted from these 8 dragon heads. Senior, here you can adjust the size and height of the flames. For the specific method of operation, the senior can check this jade slip," said the girl as she finished her brief introduction, handing Lu Changxing a jade slip. "Good," Lu Changxing took the jade slip and quickly glanced over it. It contained a basic introduction on how to operate and use the earth fire array. He looked at the girl and asked, "Where is the alchemy furnace?" Chapter 458, The Great Formation of Myriad Corpses and Profound Darkness, Alchemy. "The alchemy furnace has been put away upstairs. Please wait a moment, senior. I'll go get it." Upon hearing this, the girl slapped her forehead and immediately responded. She then hastened out of the room, taking quick steps with her small legs. "It seems that this shop must seriously mismanaged," Lu Changxing said as he watched the girl, shaking his head slightly. Only the girl was in the shop. Considering her bored demeanor a moment ago and the display case in the shop with mostly first-grade elixir medicines, he roughly judged that the current situation of the shop was not very good. The few alchemy shops he had just visited, no matter how poor, all had 1 or 2 reception apprentices. Moreover, looking at the clean state of the alchemy chamber and the pill furnace being put away, it meant there probably was no alchemist present either. "Senior, the alchemy furnace," the girl returned to the room in a short while, taking out a half-man-tall, reddish-bronze cloud-patterned alchemy furnace from her storage bag. "Thank you very much," Lu Changxing said as he looked at the pill furnace in front of him, mana flowing within his body, immediately causing the furnace to steadily land atop the 8 fire-breathing dragon heads. "Oh, senior, inside these gourds is Mars sand, which can temporarily strengthen the power of the earth fire. If you find the temperature of the earth fire insufficient and need a greater blaze to increase its power, feel free to add Mars sand. This is complimentary," the girl said, pointing to the gourds on the wall. "Thank you very much," Lu Changxing nodded and said with a smile. "All right, senior, please proceed with your alchemy. I won't disturb you any further. They'll be in the front shop all the time. Just call me if you need anything. By the way, my name is Li Xingyu," the girl in the yellow skirt voiced. "Haha, thank you for your trouble, Miss Li," Lu Changxing replied, nodding. After speaking, he added, "My name is Yi Fan." "All right, Senior Yi." Upon hearing this name, the girl's eyes instantly curved into crescents, beaming with a smile. She knew that since the other party was willing to share his name, it meant that their relationship had also become closer. This Senior Yi seems easy to talk to. I wonder if my sister can recruit him as a resident alchemist. If we haven't managed to invite a resident alchemist, I wonder if I could ask Senior Yi for this favor, thought the girl as she left the alchemy chamber. Huff. After the girl left, Lu Changxing closed the door to the alchemy chamber and began to prepare for alchemy. He first embedded 3 middle-grade spirit stones into the earth fire array. Then, following the spell from the jade slip, he cast 8 streaks of red light upon the dragon heads. Pfft. The dragon heads immediately absorbed the red light, then spouted streaks of purple flames from their maws. The alchemy chamber was filled with a surge of intense heat. Let's start with a furnace of harmonizing energy elixir to warm up the hands. Lu Changxing prepared to first refine a furnace of harmonizing energy elixir, which aids those at the foundation establishment cultivation. Rise. He looked at the pill furnace and with a hand gesture, cast a ray of spiritual light. Behold, the lid of the furnace flew up, and a stream of spiritual water rushed into the pill furnace, cleaning it thoroughly. Then, with a slap to his storage bag, multiple spiritual medicines flew one by one into the pill furnace for refinement. Blue moon grass, citrus ghost flower, bamboo cloud juice. Although it was his first time performing alchemy, Lu Changxing was not the slightest bit nervous, exuding a quiet calm. With his second-rank alchemy skills, a common second-grade elixir like the harmonizing energy elixir was something he could handle with ease. Just like that, Lu Changxing placed all the required spiritual medicines into the pill furnace, then replaced the lid perfectly. This step was executed flawlessly, without a single mistake. Watching the flames slowly burning and refining the spiritual medicines, Lu Changxing casually took out a talisman brush, talisman paper, and spirit ink and began drawing. Taking advantage of the free time during alchemy, he started crafting a few spirit talismans. If anyone were to witness this scene, they would likely be too astonished to speak. Chapter 459. The pitiable pair of sisters _1 Jiangzhou, Dongning City. Lu Pingan, it was really nice meeting you. Don't worry, once I become a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect and a great sword immortal, I'll bring you along for cultivation. A girl in black stood on tiptoe, patted the shoulder of the boy who was a head taller than her, and said goodbye to him. If that's the case, then I wish Miss Qin a safe journey. Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan cracked a smile. Then, he took out a stack of talisman elixirs and 3 porcelain bottles from his chest and said, Right, the road is long and arduous, these are for you. For me? The girl looked at the talisman elixirs and porcelain bottles in the boy's hands, her little face frozen in surprise. She knew he had many spirit talismans and elixir medicines at his side. But she didn't expect him to give them all to her at this moment. Qini sized up Lu Pingan and said, Lu Pingan, did you get your head caught in a door when you were little? Not really, but when I was little, I chased after Xiao Hei every day and often got flung around by its tail, Lu Pingan said, scratching his head. The girl in black knew that Xiao Hei was a big wolf dog raised in Lu Pingan's family. She raised an eyebrow, her small face wrinkled slightly, crossed her arms, and turned slightly to the side, squinting at Lu Pingan. Lu Pingan, do you like me or something? Lu Pingan was stunned upon hearing this, as if turned into stone. Hee hee. The usually expressionless cold-faced girl, much like Lu Pingan, cracked a smile, her eyebrows lifting. She then gave Lu Pingan a thumbs up, complimenting, not bad taste. However, I, Qin Yi, plan to be a peerless sword immortal in the future, so the man I, Qin Yi, like must be the most formidable sword immortal in the world. Lu Pingan, I can only let you down, sorry about that, she said, chin up and chest out. Miss Qin, you've misunderstood, I don't have feelings for you. It's just that going to the Heavenly Sword sect is perilous and far. Lu Pingan waved his hands hurriedly, trying to explain. The girl raised an eyebrow, looking into Lu Pingan's eyes, leaning in slightly and holding out her arm with thumb and forefinger almost touching, she asked, not even a little bit of liking? None. Miss Qin, please be assured, I absolutely don't have feelings for you. Lu Pingan leaned slightly back, his denial coming firm and decisive. The girl withdrew her hand, heaving a deep sigh as she looked at Lu Pingan. She shook her head. Lu Pingan, oh Lu Pingan, you're such a simpleton. If you ever get married, you'd be the kind of husband that would drive someone to want to smack you dead. How could that be? I'm not stupid. If I really got a wife, that would be a different story. I definitely wouldn't let her be wronged, Lu Pingan earnestly replied. Not stupid, Qin Yi said with disbelief, her face full of irony. After a year together, she thought Lu Pingan was just like a foolish son of a landlord. If she hadn't met him, he probably would have been cheated into working in mines. Miss Qin, just take them. I promised my dad and mom I'd be out for at most 3 years. It's been 2 years since I left, and I should be heading home. I need these things. Lu Pingan passed the talisman elixirs to Qin Yi. After speaking, he said with a smile, consider it an early investment in you, the future great sword Immortal. Alright, since that's the case, I'll accept it, Qin Yi said after hearing this, pursing her lips. Be careful on the road. If you can't beat them, run, and don't get into fights with others. Lu Pingan said with a smile as he watched the girl accept his items. Lu Pingan, what kind of talk is that? The person in front of you is me, Qin Yi, the future great sword Immortal, remember that, the girl said, looking up and staring at Lu Pingan. I get it, that's why you should be more careful. If you die before you even reach the heavenly sword sect and become a great sword Immortal, that would be a real pity. I'm still waiting for you to become a great sword Immortal so I can bask in your glory, Lu Pingan said with a laugh. He, influenced by his father Lu Changsheng, also enjoyed smiling a lot. However, his smile gave others a feeling of honesty and straightforwardness. Lu Pingan, you really act like a nagging old lady. You're just like a woman, the girl in black said irritably. Hee. Lu Pingan didn't argue, just smiled. Lu Pingan, what are your plans for the future? Qin Yi asked. My mother has always hoped that I would settle down early. If my dad hadn't agreed, she wouldn't have let me travel. Now that I'm returning, I should listen to my mom, get married, have children, and take care of family matters, Lu Pingan said after some thought. Yet as he spoke, his face revealed a tinge of wistfulness. He had always yearned for the path of cultivation. Especially this year, traveling the secular cultivation world with Qin Yi. Experiencing many things he had never seen before. Made him yearn even more for this fascinating world. But without a spiritual root, he was destined to be unable to cultivate and could only remain immortal. Moreover, as the eldest son in his family, he had to set a good example and not disappoint his parents. Both his parents hoped he would marry and establish himself soon. So after being away for so long, it was time to return home and follow their plans. The girl in black listened to this and fell silent for a moment. She naturally knew the divide between immortals and mortals. Without a spiritual root, one couldn't embark on the path of cultivation. As for her earlier words about taking Lu Pingan to cultivate once she became a great sword Immortal, she couldn't bring herself to say it now. After all, she was just a cultivator who had recently broken through to the 4th level energy refinement. Well, take care, Lu Pingan said with a smile after seeing Qin Yi's expression. I'm off, until we meet again. The girl looked up at the earnest and handsome young man before her and said aloud. Until we meet again. Chapter 460, The Pitiable Pair of Sisters. Lu Pingan spoke softly. Just like that, Lu Pingan watched as Qin Yi left. Qin Yi didn't look back. She knew Lu Pingan was watching her. But she dared not turn around and just walked away briskly. With the separation, both of them felt a void in their hearts. Jiuxiao Immortal City. Treasure Elixir Pavilion, inside the alchemy chamber. Hoo hoo hoo, 8 miniature dragon heads were spewing out purple flames, refining all the spiritual medicine in the pill furnace into spiritual liquid, filling the room with a faint medicinal fragrance. Lu Changxing sat by the side, calmly finishing a talisman. Then he lifted his hand, porcelain vases opened one after another, several drops of spiritual liquid and powder flew into the pill furnace, then he cast a spell. After finishing, Lu Changxing picked up the talisman brush again and continued crafting talismans. A day and a half later. Condense. Seeing the acupurple medicinal liquid in the pill furnace slowly turning into a deep purple, with spiritual light emerging, Lu Changxing seized the right moment and cast a spiritual art. The deep purple medicinal liquid continuously thickened, with the color shifting between blue and purple, emitting a rich medicinal scent. This time, Lu Changxing did not continue talisman making. Instead, he quietly watched the crimson pill furnace, using a fire-controlling technique to manage the intensity of the flames. Open. As soon as the spirit pills in the pill furnace took shape and the spiritual light blossomed, Lu Changxing shouted clearly, forming hand seals to employ the furnace opening spell. The lid of the furnace flew off and steam diffused out, with strands of acupurple light swirling around, spreading the medicinal scent in all directions. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, with a wave of heat, mana enveloped 19 elixir medicines, which flew into Lu Changxing's hands. Not bad, 19 elixirs produced, 13 of fine quality and 6 of exceptional quality, Lu Changxing said as he inspected the lustrous elixir medicines in his hand and nodded slightly. Elixir medicines varied in quality. They could generally be classified as inferior, standard, fine, and exceptional. Inferior elixir medicines are considered substandard. Although consumable, their effectiveness is poor, and they contain high elixir toxicity. Excessive use can harm the body. Fine and exceptional elixir medicines not only have better efficacy but also contain less elixir toxicity. The elixir medicines sold in the marketplace are mostly standard or fine quality, with exceptional elixirs being quite rare. Yet, for Lu Changxing's first time refining elixirs, he produced 19, with 13 of fine quality and 6 of exceptional quality, which was truly remarkable. The cost of this batch of elixir medicines is roughly 100 spirit stones, Lu Changxing mused. 19 elixirs, if calculated like this, the profit is actually about the same as what I get from making second-rank talismans. However, since the elixirs I've refined are either fine or exceptional quality, their price can be quite a bit higher, he added. Lu Changxing briefly calculated the profit from this batch of elixir medicines. Back then, at the Elixir Cauldron Pavilion of Qingyun Market, he had purchased a bottle of harmonizing energy elixirs, spending 1,200 spirit stones. A bottle contained 10 elixir medicines. That is to say, this batch could sell for over 2,000 spirit stones, almost 20 times the profit. But the harmonizing energy elixirs he purchased were all standard quality. If they were of fine or exceptional quality, the price could be expected to be 2 to 3 times higher, or even more. After all, there are always wealthy individuals willing to spend more for that extra bit of efficacy and a little less elixir toxicity. Of course, harmonizing energy elixir is just the most common type of second-rank elixir. If high-difficulty elixirs like 3 Suns elixir or Breakthrough elixir are refined, the profit margin could be considerably higher, he continued. And if it's possible to concoct foundation establishment elixirs or coagulation crystal elixirs, the profits would be even more substantial, he noted. However, the materials for these elixirs are quite rare, and they can't be produced in large quantities. Moreover, one of the reasons alchemists are so sought after is that many cultivators are willing to provide their own materials and pay for elixir concoction services. If the alchemy fails, there's no need to compensate, and if it succeeds, not only do the excess materials go into your pocket, but there's also a generous bonus. That's what makes the alchemists in demand. Having been in the cultivation world for a while now, Lu Changxing understood the reasons why alchemists hold a slightly higher status than talisman masters. It's because the demand for, and the rarity of, certain elixirs exceeds that of talismans. An alchemist who earns a good reputation will have an endless stream of cultivators seeking his services for pill concoction. There's no need to busy oneself with daily alchemy to earn spirit stones. When I return and reveal my foundation establishment strength, I can also gradually show off my alchemy skills, he planned. After a few years, once I've built a reputation as Master Lu, the dual expert of elixirs and talismans, not only will wealth flow in, but numerous people will also come seeking my services for talisman making and alchemy, he envisioned. And I can recruit loads of talisman apprentices and alchemy apprentices to work for me. Lu Changxing contemplated in his heart. Although he now had more than 30 children with spiritual roots, he planned for those without the talent to follow the path of craftspeople. But with the high barriers to entry in the 100 arts of cultivation, it's not likely that every child could achieve success. Even if all did become craftspeople, Lu Changxing certainly wouldn't exploit his children, having them toil day in and day out concocting pills and crafting talismans for money. Who would build their development on internal exploitation? He established the family with the intention of providing an excellent environment for his descendants to grow. If he resorted to internal exploitation, that would be a deviation from his path. Thus, he intended to train a few talented apprentices to work for his family once it was established. In the cultivation world, people are the least valuable commodity. Even if they have spiritual roots or talent, it remains the same. Given his current second-rank talisman master status, if he were willing to recruit talisman apprentices from outside, countless individuals would be eager to apprentice and sign spiritual contracts. Sigh, I never thought I'd take the path of exploitation, Lu Changxing exhaled lightly, shaking his head. He took out a white jade porcelain vase and put all the elixir medicines into it. Afterward, he looked at the pill furnace in front of him, formed hand seals for controlling fire, cleaned the furnace, and had various spiritual medicines enter the pill furnace, continuing with alchemy. Chapter 461. The pitiable pair of sisters. Li Xingrua dragged her weary body toward her family's shop. Without a second-rank alchemist presiding, not only has business dwindled greatly, but we also can't pass the triennial shop assessment. Dad, Mom, what should I do? Li Xingrua looked at her deserted treasure elixir pavilion and heaved a deep sigh. She was born into a cultivation family. Her father was a foundation establishment cultivator and a second-rank alchemist. Her mother was also a foundation establishment cultivator. Under these circumstances, she could be considered to have been born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Thus, she was like a star cherished by all from a young age. But a year ago, everything changed. Her parents encountered a heretic cultivator during a trip and both perished, leaving behind her and her younger sister. Confronted with such a situation, their family did not offer concern or aid, but even tried to snatch the properties under her parents' names and force her sister into marriage. Luckily, thanks to her parents' connections, the family did not push them too hard. So she abandoned many of the family assets, took her sister, and came to Zhoushiao Immortal City, relying on this treasure elixir pavilion for a living. Originally, after being run by her parents for so many years, the elixir shop had already established a solid customer base and reputation in Zhoushiao Immortal City. As long as they could hire a second-rank alchemist, even if business couldn't return to its former glory, it wouldn't be too bad. But the family outright cast them out as renegades. Not only did they stop supplying spiritual medicine, they also recalled the apprenticeships of the alchemy from their shop to the family, and forbade any other alchemists from collaborating with their shop. As time passed, their treasure elixir pavilion business got worse and worse. Many corporate partners also gradually ceased their cooperation. Half a month ago, she heard that a second-rank alchemist appeared in Baishan workshop. Without stopping to rest, she rushed over, hoping to offer a high price to invite the person to her shop to become the presiding alchemist. Just promoted to second-rank alchemist, he readily agreed to the terms and was ready to sign a spiritual contract. But upon finding out about her situation, he immediately chose to renege, sending her home defeated and disheartened. Sister, you're back. Inside the shop, Li Xingyu, dressed in a pale yellow gown and with a lovely countenance, saw her sister return and immediately brightened up, her small face beaming with a smile as she called out. Xingyu. Li Xingrua, looking at her sister's cheerful demeanor, squeezed out a smile on her somewhat weary face. A year ago, she was just like her sister, carefree, happily helping their parents manage the business every day. But since the death of their parents, a series of incidents taught her the coldness of the secular world. "Sister, how did it go with the alchemist from Baishan workshop? Is he willing to come to our place and be our presiding alchemist?" Seeing her sister's fatigue, Li Xingyu brewed a cup of spiritual tea for her and spoke up. "He's not willing." Li Xingrua picked up the spiritual tea, took a sip, and gently shook her head. "It's all right, sister. If it really comes down to it, we could sell the treasure elixir pavilion. That way, you wouldn't have to be so busy every day." Li Xingyu pursed her lips, holding her sister's hand in comfort. Despite her young age, she was very sensible. She knew the treasure elixir pavilion was the hard-earned business left to them by their parents, so her sister was reluctant to give up. Yet over the past year, she watched her sister tirelessly toil for the treasure elixir pavilion. Now altogether worn out, there was no time left for cultivation. "Xingyu, I'm okay." Li Xingruo responded with a smile. Selling the shop was indeed the best choice. But this shop was not just their parents' hard work, it also held beautiful memories of her and her parents. Once, her father taught her alchemy here, while her mother tutored her in techniques. "By the way, sister, a few days ago a senior Yi came to our shop asking if there was a pill furnace and an alchemy chamber for rent. I thought senior Yi seemed trustworthy and he is a second-rank alchemist, so I rented them to him. We could talk to him later, maybe he would be willing to be our shop's presiding alchemist." At this, Li Xingyu spoke up. She had agreed to rent out the alchemy chamber, with a lease period of 10 days, thinking to wait for her sister to come back from her trip. If her sister had not secured a second-rank alchemist, then they would try to convince this senior Yi to become their shop's presiding alchemist. Senior Yi? A second-rank alchemist? Renting the pill furnace and alchemy chamber? Li Xingrua was immediately startled upon hearing this. It was not a pleasant surprise, but one of alarm. Because upon hearing her younger sister's words, her first thought was of swindlers. A second-rank alchemist, what need would they have to rent an alchemy chamber from someone else? Even if they did need to rent an alchemy chamber, who would need to rent a pill furnace? What kind of second-rank alchemist doesn't own his own pill furnace? Only alchemy apprentices, who can't afford pill furnaces, use cast iron pots to concoct elixir medicines. Which second-rank alchemist needs to rent a pill furnace from someone? "Xingyu, where is this alchemist? Still in the alchemy chamber?" Li Xingrua immediately stood up and asked anxiously. This pill furnace was one of her father's heirlooms. It was also the most precious item in the shop at the moment. Thus, she normally kept the pill furnace put away, stored in the third-floor depository. She didn't expect her younger sister to actually rent it out to someone else. If this senior Yi turned out to be a con artist and either blew up the furnace through reckless alchemy, or swapped it with a fake and ran off with their actual pill furnace, the loss would be tremendous. Ah, surely not. I thought senior Yi was quite amiable, he didn't seem like a swindler. Li Xingyu began to feel nervous after hearing her sister's words. It didn't occur to her that her goodwill might have backfired. She was also aware of the dire situation at home. Her sister had been out trying to recruit a second-rank alchemist. Chapter 462, The Pitiable Pair of Sisters _4 That's why the alchemy chamber was rented out externally to retain Lu Changxing. Now hearing her elder sister's words, she felt that was indeed the case. Where would a second-rank alchemist not even have a pill furnace of his own? Moreover, this senior Yi seemed quite unfamiliar with her family's earth-fire array and the starfire sand. Immediately, the two sisters quickly went to the backyard. "Xingyu, you ask?" Li Xingrua, seeing that the person was still in the alchemy chamber, let out a sigh of relief and asked her younger sister to call out. Although she suspected that Lu Changxing was a fraudster, she had not yet resorted to barging into the alchemy chamber directly. After all, it was only a suspicion. What if Lu Changxing really was an alchemist? What if he was at a critical moment in his alchemy process? As an alchemist herself, she knew that one should not be disturbed during the process of alchemy. Furthermore, in her heart, she hoped that this Senior Yi was truly a second-rank alchemist. Because a second-rank alchemist who had fallen on such hard times that he had no pill furnace indicated that he was in a dire situation. If she could just offer generous terms, maybe she could persuade him to become the resident alchemist at her family's store. Senior Yi, Li Xingyu took out a token and called out into the alchemy chamber. Miss Li, is there something the matter? Lu Changsheng, who was in the midst of alchemy and talisman making, asked without raising his head. Are you available right now? My sister has returned and would like to see you. Li Xingyu bit her lip and spoke out. She felt that Lu Changsheng had a kind temperament and couldn't believe he was a fraudster. Come in. Lu Changsheng, hearing this, guessed that it might be the young girl who had rented the alchemy chamber, and now a family elder had returned and came over to check in person. Giggle, the large stone door of the alchemy chamber slowly opened. A wave of heat spread out from inside the room. The sisters walked into the alchemy chamber. They immediately smelled a strong fragrance of medicine. In the center of the room, the fire in the pill furnace blazed vigorously, with spiritual light flowing around it, clearly in the process of concocting some extraordinary elixir medicines. Lu Changsheng was seated to one side, busily writing something. What? The sisters were stunned at the sight. What is this? The fire was roaring as it refined elixir medicines. Yet here was Lu Changsheng holding a spiritual brush, writing something. It looked as though he was making talismans. Whoever heard of someone doing other tasks while also engaged in alchemy? Ladies, please wait a moment. Lu Changsheng said without raising his head. He could divide his attention while making talismans. But after all, he was crafting a second-rank spirit talisman. He needed to keep an eye on the talisman paper to finish the drawing, unable to do so blindly. A moment later. Lu Changsheng's brush, in his hand, completed the last stroke on the talisman paper, causing spiritual light to surge on it. A second-rank talisman, made. Fellow Taoist, Miss Li. Only then did Lu Changsheng stand up and raise his head, greeting the two women with a smile. By their appearance and resemblance, he could tell at a glance that the two must be biological sisters. Li Xingyu was around 15 or 16, with clear eyes, a straight nose, an oval face, and a quiet disposition, charming and cute. This woman appeared to be about 20 years old. Her face had a 7 or 8 resemblance to Li Xingyu, with clear, refined features and bright eyes and white teeth. She seemed a bit weary from busyness, showing a trace of fatigue on her face. However, between her brows, there shone a transparent yet firm expression, like crystal. Senior Yi, you are also a talisman master? Li Xingyu, looking at Lu Changsheng, asked incredulously, her face full of disbelief. The surge of spiritual light from the talisman paper confirmed that Lu Changsheng was indeed making a talisman, drawing a spirit talisman just a moment ago. This left them so astonished they were at a loss for words. You see, both alchemy and talisman making are immensely difficult tasks that cannot be influenced or disturbed by external factors. Yet there was Lu Changsheng, clearly in the middle of alchemy in the pill furnace, while also making a talisman on the side. And during the process of talisman making, he was still capable of holding a conversation with them. This was simply astounding and beyond comprehension. I know a little, Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. Senior Yi, I am Xingyi's elder sister, Li Xingrua. Just now, Xingyi mentioned that an alchemist had rented the alchemy chamber, so I came over to meet you. I apologize for disturbing Grandmaster Yi, Li Xingrua then spoke up, her voice respectful. She was not like her sister. She was much more precocious. Having learned alchemy from her father since she was young, she was a first-grade, high-quality alchemist. From the scent of the medicine, the fire in the pill furnace, and the medicinal liquid, she could roughly deduce that a second-grade elixir medicine was being concocted inside. This Senior Yi was indeed a second-rank alchemist. Not some scammer. This made her almost at a loss for what to say. to be concocting a second-grade elixir medicine while dividing his attention to make a talisman. And the surge of spiritual light when the talisman was completed indicated it was not just any ordinary spirit talisman. This excited her deeply. She realized her younger sister truly had encountered a master. The senior Yi before them was a real expert. If he could become the resident alchemist at their store, their shop could be saved. No problem. I came to Zhoushiao Immortal City and forgot to bring my pill furnace, so I had to find a place to rent both a pill furnace and an alchemy chamber. I owe it to your younger sister for providing me a place to conduct my alchemy, Lu Changxing said with a smile. He could tell that Li Xingrua was likely quite sharp and capable. Senior Yi, are you planning to settle in Zhoushiao Immortal City? If you're looking for a place to stay, our treasure elixir pavilion is currently lacking a resident alchemist. I wonder if Senior Yi might be interested? As long as Senior Yi is willing to become, Li Xingguo's eyes lit up as she immediately spoke out, her eyes full of hope. Miss Li, I came to Zhoushiao Immortal City to take care of some business and don't have plans to settle here, eh? Chapter 463, The Pitiable Pair of Sisters _5, so there really is no way for me to serve as the resident alchemist for your esteemed pavilion. Lu Changxing shook his head, voicing his refusal. He wasn't averse to the notion of being a shop's resident alchemist. If the shop were located in Red Leaf Valley Market or the markets around Qingzhou Mountain, he wouldn't mind using an alias to serve as a resident alchemist. Not only would that provide an additional income, but it would also create another channel for selling elixir medicines. He could sell all the surplus elixirs that he had produced in the shop. However, his main base was at Qingzhou Mountain. After completing this purchasing trip, he would return and not stay long in Zhoushiao Immortal City. Where does Elder Yi reside? As long as you are willing to become our treasure elixir pavilion resident alchemist, you don't have to come to the shop regularly. Xingrua can visit you to discuss matters. You only need to take the trouble of coming over when there is a need. Li Xingrua was reluctant to give up and continued to speak. Li fellow Taoist, I reside in the Qingyun region, which is truly far from Zhoushiao Immortal City, Lu Changxing said, shaking his head. From Qingzhou Mountain to Zhoushiao Immortal City, one would have to traverse half of Jiang country cultivation realm. Qingyun region. Upon hearing this, Li Xingrua felt somewhat disheartened. She knew that with such a distance, the journey was indeed long. Even by riding a spirit boat, it would take several months. Biting her lip, she persisted, may I ask when Elder Yi plans to leave? Her family's shop was facing not just a decline in business. There was another problem as well. In Zhoushiao Immortal City, there was a regulation. All pharmacy, talisman, and magic artifact shops in the inner city district must have a second-rank master in residence. Therefore, every 3 years, Zhoushiao Immortal City conducts a shop assessment. The resident talisman master of the shop is required to go to the 100 Arts Hall in the city for assessment and registration. If they did not pass the assessment, the shop's business license would be revoked. Now, there were only 3 months left until the assessment. If she could not secure a second-rank alchemist who hadn't registered in the city to pass the assessment within these 3 months, then her treasure elixir pavilion would no longer be able to operate. About 2 months, Lu Changxing said after a moment of consideration. He planned to wait until the auction was over and then return home after exchanging the heads of the 2 robber cultivators from Red Leaf Valley. The reason he was not immediately collecting the reward was that Lu Changxing had learned something. The rewards offered by the Heavenly Sword sect could be exchanged for items of equivalent value. Spirit stones, elixir medicines, magic artifacts, cultivation techniques, and rare treasures were all options. Therefore, he was not in a rush to claim the reward. He intended to wait until his purchases were complete to see which materials he still lacked. Only then would he use the heads of the 2 to select his reward, exchanging for the items he needed. 2 months. Upon hearing this, a pleading look appeared in Li Xingguo's eyes as she said, I wish to request that Elder Yi act as the nominal resident alchemist for our treasure elixir pavilion and participate in the annual assessment. This assessment is in 3 months' time, and it will not take up much of your time. Elder Yi. As long as you are willing, Elder Yi, any conditions you have can be discussed, Li Xingrua said, full of hope as she looked at Lu Changxing. Her sister Li Xingyu nodded along, looking at Lu Changxing with hopeful eyes as well. Any conditions can be discussed? Lu Changxing had not expected that an offer to be a mere shop's resident alchemist could make the two women so determined and agreeable, willing to make such a significant commitment. He looked at the two sisters with a somewhat strange expression. The elder sister, 8th level energy refinement. The younger sister, 4th level energy refinement. At this age, with this cultivation level, it suggested that their spiritual root talents were quite impressive. If he were to marry them and have children, it seemed it would be quite good. However, he, Lu Changxing, was not so desperate to propose that someone else's young girl becomes his concubine over such a trifle. In Jiuxiao Immortal City, there should be other second-rank alchemists among the surrounding family powers, right? Your pavilion manages to operate a shop here in the inner city district of Jiuxiao Immortal City. It shouldn't be that difficult to hire a second-rank alchemist, should it? Lu Changxing asked out loud. This store's ability to operate in the inner city district of Jiuxiao Immortal City indicated that it had some strength. Nowadays, not only was the business sluggish, but the shop was also manned by just 2 young girls. It seemed it wasn't merely due to poor management. Therefore, Lu Changxing speculated that there must be other reasons. Senior, Li Xingrua bit her lip and recounted the reasons. So that's how it is. After listening to Li Xingruo's words, Lu Changxing sighed softly in his heart. He thought to himself that the two sisters were pitiable. Otherwise, considering the original family situation of the two sisters, they were indeed better off than many others. But such was the cultivation world, full of uncertainties. Senior, Li Xingyi's eyes reddened with memories flooding back as her sister recounted their parents' story, her face filled with sadness and misery. If that's the case, I can help you with the assessment 3 months from now. But how do I know what you've told me is true and that I won't offend the Li family behind you? Lu Changxing spoke out. He, Lu Changxing, was a father himself, with a heart full of love, always soft-hearted, and unable to bear seeing such things. If he could help, he was more than willing to lend a hand. As for the Li family behind the two women, he was not afraid. According to what Li Xingrua had just described, the Li family was only a foundation establishment family. After the death of her parents, the family had a total of 4 foundation establishment cultivators. But he could not simply believe whatever he was told. The senior may inquire a bit in the Immortal City, for example, the 100 Dawn Chamber and Heaven Knowledge Tower within the city deal in all kinds of intelligence and news. Senior may purchase information about our Li family and our shop through the 100 Dawn Chamber, and then you'll know if it's true. Li Xingrua said softly. Just recounting the past had made her feel somewhat depressed. All right, how about I give the 2 young ladies a response later tonight? Lu Changxing glanced at Li Xingrua and nodded. He had also realized that after this procurement trip, there would certainly be a need for future purchases in the Immortal City. If the young women were good, he could maintain this relationship and channel. In the future, through the 2 women, he could purchase and acquire some rare materials in Jiuxiao Immortal City. Then have Xiao Xia ask for the spiritual vessel from Qingyun sect to bring them back. This way, he could avoid the trouble of running around himself. Thank you, Senior Yi. Thank you, Senior Yi. Upon hearing Lu Changxing's words, the 2 sisters exchanged a look, their eyes filled with joy. The second-tier top-level spirit vein beneath the Blackwater Pool, under the assault of the earth-shaking formation, was immediately damaged, with countless spiritual energies spilling out. A second-grade spirit vein housing a third-rank great formation was already straining to maintain operation solely through the countless corpses and treasures of the Xiahou family. Now, with the spirit vein damaged by the assault of the mountain-shaking formation, its force was greatly diminished and it could no longer sustain itself. Dong, 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 the east wind blew, and the battle drum sounded. Aboard the giant spiritual vessel, 36 cultivators blew the attack horn and beat the war drums. The sound of the horns and drums revived the spirit of every cultivator as if receiving an order, and they collectively bombarded the myriad corpses' profound ghost formation around Blackwater Pool. Boom, 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 the overwhelming offensive fell upon the myriad corpses' profound ghost formation, causing the formation to instantly reveal cracks and flaws, and the true scene within Blackwater Pool was exposed. No. Ancestor. Inside Blackwater Pool, amidst the shaking earth and gusty spiritual energy, buildings collapsed, and many of the Xiahou clan's people let out cries of pain and wailing. They knew that at this moment, the Xiahou family was finished. Ancestor. Xiahou Wuo's complexion turned unsightly at this moment as he called out to the patriarch of his family. The earth-shaking formation, Qingyun sect knew that a great war between two countries was about to start, so they spared no expense to decisively annihilate our Xiahou family with a thunderous approach. Wuo, when I hold off the people from Qingyun sect, you must seize the chance to escape. Remember, after you leave, do not return to the Heavenly Corpse sect. Within the depths of Blackwater Pool, Xiahou Jie, with a rigid face and ashen-gray skin, his eyes a dark red, spoke in an ice-cold voice. Ancestor. Upon hearing these words, Xiahou Wuo's voice was heavy. He had long known of his family ancestors' decision. To attract the attention of Qingyun sect, the family brought the elite members away from the Qingyun region, escaping from Jiang country. If they couldn't hold out until Jin Kingdom invaded, he was to escape at the first opportunity. Now that our Xiahou family's core descendants have been sent away, as long as you live, there is hope for the Xiahou family. Never forget the family feud and blood hatred. Xiahou Jie's voice was cold, devoid of emotion. Ancestor, Wuo dares not forget. Xiahou Wuo looked at his family ancestor, suddenly knelt down, his forehead touching the ground in reverence, bowing deeply 3 times, his expression solemn, eyes slightly red. Qingyun sect. Xiahou Jie suddenly looked up towards the Qingyun sect members on the great formation outside, his gaze fixed on Yun Wanshang above on the spiritual vessel. His dark red eyes gradually turned bloodshot, deep and somber like blood. The ashen-gray skin took on the color of blackened iron, with threads of mysterious and malevolent deathly energy spreading around. Boom! 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 Aboard the giant spiritual vessel, the big cannons, primed and ready, fired at this moment. Columns of thunderous lightning, 12 feet wide and capable of obliterating heaven and earth, bombarded the wavering great formation. The entire heavens filled with gray and black energy, mountains of corpses and seas of blood, wails of ghosts and howls of wolves, all were turned to ash in an instant, vanishing without a trace. The Xiahou family's myriad corpses' mysterious ghost great formation was completely shattered in this moment. Inside Blackwater Pool, the Xiahou family's mountain fortress was revealed. Within it, the city walls, houses, buildings, and spirit veins were already in ruins, a scene of utter devastation. Nearly all the common folk of the Xiahou family perished under the earth-shaking formation, crushed beneath the buildings without even a chance to wail. Only some cultivators, in the midst of the shaking earth and collapsing formation, somehow remained alive. The formation has broken, exterminate the Xiahou clan. Aboard the giant spiritual vessel, Yun Wanshang with a noble and icy demeanor, her brows exuding dominance and authority, commanded sternly. Suddenly, a golden magical sword appeared in her hand, and as she stepped forward, she stood suspended in the void, her presence like a rainbow, suppressing heaven and earth. Kill! 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 One after another, the spiritual vessels in each Foundation establishment ancestor, upon receiving the order, led their disciples to slaughter their way into Blackwater Pool. Chapter 465, The Tao Soldier of the Mysterious Corpse, witness the divine skills of a true person. Now is the final time for harvest. My sons, follow this old ancestor into battle. In Blackwater Pool, Xiahou Jie looked up to the sky and let out a howl, his voice roaring like a wild beast, a lone wolf howling at the moon, captivating the soul. Bang, 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 in an instant, endless gloom and the stench of corpses spread and surged. One could see from the territory of the Blackwater Pool clan, countless dark coffins flying out, covering the sky, easily 1,000 in number. Numerous zombies broke out of their coffins, howled to the sky with blood-red eyes, and charged towards the people. Kayan true immortal, Xiahou Jia, today bring my Xiahou family's sons and Dao soldiers of the mystical zombies to experience the might of your divine skills. Xiahou Jia stood on a bronze coffin and soared into the sky. His skin was dark as ink, his eyes blood-red, and the aura of dark evil around him nearly materialized, like a fiendish deity, malevolent and fierce. Jiuxiao Immortal City. Treasure Elixir Pavilion, Alchemy Chamber. Whoosh, 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 8 miniature dragon heads breathed out purple flames, making the spiritual mechanism of the pill furnace pervasive and filling the air with the fragrance of medicine. Elder Yi, your elixir is about to be ready. Li Xingrua looked at the pill furnace before her, where the spiritual mechanism was in full flow, and spoke up to remind him. There's no rush. This batch of elixir medicines is second-rank spirit-nourishing pills. In order to enhance their effectiveness, I added some red lotus powder, not only to lock in the efficacy but also to improve the quality of the pills during coagulation, though it requires a bit more time to refine. Lu Changsheng, who was drawing a talisman nearby, didn't lift his head as he spoke gently. Previously, when the Li sisters invited him to be the resident alchemist of Treasure Elixir Pavilion, he said he would consider it. After purchasing information about the Li family and the Treasure Elixir Pavilion from the 100 Dawn Chamber and confirming that the sisters were telling the truth, Lu Changsheng accepted the role of resident alchemist and took on the shop assessment. As for the price, the sisters had to pay him a compensation of 3,000 spirit stones. Moreover, during this period, they would sell the elixir medicines and talismans for him and procure all kinds of materials he needed. Faced with this demand, the sisters agreed without hesitation. So, for more than a month, Lu Changsheng was practically always at the Treasure Elixir Pavilion, refining pills and making talismans. Excess elixir medicines and talismans were all sold by the two sisters on his behalf, causing the spirit stones in his storage bag to swell. He now had a huge sum of over 40,000 spirit stones. And after spending this month in their company, the Li sisters had grown much closer to him. Whenever Li Xingrua was free, she would come over to help him control the fire and watch over the furnace. As for this, Lu Changsheng not only did not mind, but he also took the opportunity to instruct and teach this young girl the skills of alchemy. So that's it. Second-rank spirit-nourishing pills with added red lotus powder lock in the efficacy. Li Xingrua, hearing this, nodded thoughtfully. Alchemy, artifact refining, talisman making, it's difficult to explore these fields by oneself without inheritance and someone to guide. However, doing so also demands much higher skill in the pill condensation technique. It requires the condensation of water vapor during pill formation and integrating it into the medicine. Lu Changsheng spoke unhurriedly. In the inheritance of second-rank alchemy skills, there are many alchemical techniques included. Although these alchemy skills are just common techniques, not some rare inheritances, they are enough to deal with 90% of the elixir medicines on the market. The elixir medicines he refined were of optimal effect, mostly exquisite or supreme in quality. Xingrua, watch closely. After drawing another first-grade spirit talisman, Lu Changsheng spoke to Li Xingrua. When the spiritual mechanism surged inside the pill furnace, he clenched his hands together in an intricate seal. Washing stream transforming cloud technique, condensed the pill. As clouds and mist filled the pill furnace, and the heat steamed up, a waft of water vapor spread towards the coalescing medicinal liquid. This water vapor will wash over the pill for a moment, then the furnace must be opened immediately, otherwise, it will affect the quality of the elixir medicine. Open. Lu Changsheng spoke, his hands forming rapid seals, causing the red furnace lid to fly up. Suddenly, many brown spirit pills, the size of lychee fruits, flew into Lu Changsheng's hands. This batch of spirit-nourishing pills totaled over 40. All of them were of exquisite or supreme quality. Different elixir medicines have different methods and ingredients for refining, hence the yield also varies. Like the spirit-nourishing pills, they could be refined with a large quantity of spiritual medicine at once, which is a bit crude, so the limit for Lu Changxing was about 50 pills. Store. Lu Changxing took out a porcelain bottle and let the 40-plus spirit-nourishing pills all enter into it. He then turned to Li Xingrua, who stood beside him, bewildered, and asked, "How about it, Xingrua, did you understand?" "Elder Yi, I understood." Li Xingrua immediately regained her senses with a slight blush on her cheeks, nodding to Lu Changxing. Just now, watching Lu Changxing's heroic face and kind instruction reminded her of the days when her father taught her alchemy here. Though her normally kind father was very strict about alchemy, unlike Elder Ye's gentle approach. Let's stop here for today. You can also come to me if you have any questions about alchemy. With your talent, as long as you apply yourself, becoming a top-tier alchemist is not far off, and there's hope for you to reach second rank in the future, Lu Changxing said to Li Xingrua. This girl indeed had a knack for alchemy, a solid foundation. If her father had not passed away, leaving her without guidance and preoccupied with trivial matters, she would probably have already reached the pinnacle of first-grade alchemists. Thank you, Elder Yi, Li Xingrua said, as if greatly encouraged, and nodded firmly. After spending over a month together, she recognized that the Elder Yi before her was a very potent alchemist, even more so than her own father. Thus, she deeply trusted Lu Changxing's words, knowing that if he said she had prospects to become a second-rank alchemist, then she certainly did. The auction starts tomorrow. I hope it won't be disappointing, Lu Changxing mused as he stepped out of the alchemy chamber and let out a breath. He was ready to go back and get a good rest. Chapter 466, The Tao Soldier of the Mysterious Corpse, Witness the Divine Skills of a True Person. After several days of continuous alchemy and talisman making, he felt tired in both body and mind. Senior Yi, all the harmonizing energy elixirs you made before are sold out. Some people even came asking when new stock would arrive, saying that the elixirs you made have excellent effects, Li Xingyu, in the store's lobby, excitedly said upon seeing Lu Changxing. Ever since Lu Changxing arrived, their family's elixir shop had been doing much better, making her very happy collecting spirit stones every day. Even though these spirit stones weren't hers. But every time, Lu Changxing would give her dozens of spirit stones as a reward. Hee hee, I'll make more when I have some free time, Lu Changxing said with a chuckle. You are the resident alchemist of Treasure Elixir Pavilion. I wonder if Master Yi can refine a premium true essence elixir. A customer in the shop politely said after hearing this and glanced towards Lu Changxing. If the friend here pays a deposit, Yi can refine a furnace, and you may collect it in a fortnight, Lu Changxing replied upon hearing this. The true essence elixir is an elixir taken during the middle and later stages of foundation establishment, to improve one's cultivation level. If the other party wanted it, he was willing to refine a few bottles to sell. After all, he would need them in the future as well. May I ask the price? The customer inquired. 30% above market rate, 2,300 spirit stones, Lu Changxing responded. In that case, ill trouble Master Yi. Upon hearing this, the customer thought for a moment, then took out 1,200 spirit stones as a deposit and then took his leave. Wow! Li Xingyu couldn't help but exclaim when she saw this scene. The fact that someone was willing to place a deposit and pre-order elixirs just because they bought a bottle of harmonizing energy elixir before made her marvel. In her heart, she thought if Lu Changxing could permanently reside in the shop, then their treasure elixir pavilion could prosper like never before. Xiaoyu, if the second-rank elixirs in the shop are sold out, you can place the talismans in a more conspicuous spot, that will help sell them better, Lu Changxing, looking at the spirit talismans beside him, said to Li Xingyu. The treasure elixir pavilion was, after all, an elixir shop. The elixirs he put on sale in the shop basically sold out very quickly. Talismans, on the other hand, were comparatively slower to sell. But that didn't really matter. If he had to sell them back to other shops, he could only buy them back at 50 to 60% of the value. At the Treasure Elixir Pavilion, they sold for the market rate. Plus, the quality of the elixirs and talismans was high, so he could charge a little more. All right, Senior Yi. Li Xingyu immediately organized several talismans and placed them neatly in the center of the counter on hearing this. Oh, and Senior Yi, here are the spirit stones from the sales of elixirs and talismans over the past few days. She then took out a storage bag and handed it over to Lu Chongqing. Lu Chongqing scanned it with his divine sense, 11,350 spirit stones. Exactly the amount from the elixirs and talismans he had made recently. You've worked hard. He took out 50 spirit stones and handed them to Li Xingyu as a reward. Thank you, Senior Yi. Li Xingyu immediately received them with a beaming smile. 50 spirit stones were not a small amount for her. Moreover, during this period, Lu Chongqing had already given her more than 300 spirit stones. Alright, you should get some rest early. Seeing the girl's smiling face, Lu Chongqing subconsciously rubbed her little head. Thousands of miles away from Zhoxiao Immortal City, there was a spiritual mountain called Great Cliff Mountain. The one in charge of this Great Cliff Mountain was the Li family. You're saying that Treasure Elixir Pavilion got a second-rank alchemist, and this alchemist is a second-rank superior alchemist. The patriarch of the Li family was somewhat astonished upon hearing a subordinate's report. A second-rank superior alchemist, even within Zhoxiao Immortal City, was not common. This caused some doubt in his mind about where his two nieces had found such a second-rank alchemist. Yes, family head, this person produces elixirs of exceedingly high quality, definitely a second-rank superior alchemist. As for his background, this subordinate hasn't investigated any relevant information. Perhaps he's a newly arrived alchemist in Zhoxiao Immortal City, that's why he settled at the Treasure Elixir Pavilion. The reporter spoke respectfully. Prepare a gift and go meet this alchemist. Test the waters to see what the relationship is like between the alchemist and Xingrua and the two of them. If their relationship is ordinary and he's only temporarily residing at Treasure Elixir Pavilion, ask if he's willing to come to our Great Cliff Li family as a guest elder. Our family is willing to welcome him with open arms. If their relationship is good, then apologize profusely, saying there has been some misunderstanding and conflict between the families and see his attitude. Be sure not to offend him. The patriarch of the Li family tapped the table and contemplated. Even a second-rank superior alchemist, without any background, could quickly build connections through his alchemy. Therefore, the Li family was not willing to offend an alchemist of such caliber. If his two nieces had made acquaintance with such an alchemist, it indeed wasn't good news for their Li family. After all, the Li family's previous actions towards the two sisters were not exactly honorable. Yes, family head. The reporter bowed and complied. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.